All right, so we'll be starting now. Just a second, delegates. Right. Lakshya, Agastya, and Lakshita, are you there with me?
Yes, sir.
Right. Just count the number of delegates, that how many are there in the present, so that we get an idea we can start or not. Is everyone there, Lakshya?
I'll just count. Just a second. There are some delegates who are asking for the link on personal team on WhatsApp, so I'm reverting back to
Just
them.
share the link in the group chat as well.
All right.
We have 25 delegates in the committee right now.
We have 25. All right. In the matrix, there are 31. So we'll wait for a minute or so. In the meantime, we'll begin with the introduction. So, greetings, delegates. I'm Arnav Kaushik. I'm a first-year law student at National Law University, Lucknow, and I will be the chairperson for the committee G20. Lakshya, go ahead.
Greetings to the delegates present here. I'm Lakshya Devgan and I'm from class 11th. And today I'll be serving as the director for this conference.
Good afternoon, delegates. I am Agastya. I am currently in grade 12th and I'll also be serving as director.
Greetings everyone, I am Lakshita Agrawal. I am in class 11th right now and I will be serving as your rapporteur.
Right. So that was with the introduction. First of all, to get a fair amount of idea, how many first timers are there in the committee? Can all the first timers raise their hands? All right. So there are quite a lot of first timers as well in the committee. So delegates, what we'll do is that we'll first of all start with the ROPs. We'll explain you the ROPs, and then we'll move on with certain general guidelines for the committee, that what is expected out of this committee, and then moving on, I'll take your doubts as well. All right. So if I have to explain the ROPs, we'll be following the UNA USA procedures for this committee. And if I have to explain in short, so G20 is basically a group of 20 leading economies of the world that come together to discuss significant economic, geopolitical issues, and they have a forum, which, so basically it is a political forum for discussion among the 20 leading economies of the world. So that is what G20 does. So if I have to delve into the ROPs, so the ROPs, a committee is usually run on the backbone of motions. Motions are what drives a committee, and through motions, this committee will be run. Now, what exactly a motion is? So motion is nothing but it is sort of a procedural thing in MUNs, that all the delegates have to raise motions. So, for example, to begin the committee with, the very first motion that you raise in a committee is regarding establishment of the agenda. So a delegate, for example, the delegate of XYZ country, the delegate of XYZ country would like to establish the agenda of the committee as Ukraine and global war supplies. So that is how you establish the agenda of the committee. Now the next motion is motion pertaining to the establishment of the general speakers list. For example, the delegate of XYZ would like to establish the general speakers list for the individual time being 90 seconds. So that is a motion for that is a motion pertaining to GSLs. Now there are further motions as well when you are when I'll recognize speakers for moderated caucuses, unmoderated caucuses, and by the end of the committee, I'll require a motion to adjourn the committee, that the delegate of XYZ would like to raise a motion to adjourn the committee. That is the final motion of a committee, post which the committee will end. So that is how the committee would function. Now, if I have to talk about the debate, so basically under the UNA USA procedures, there are two kinds of debates: formal debating and informal debating. So under formal debating, you have your general speakers list, which I just talked about, the GSL, and under your informal debating, you have your moderated caucuses and your unmoderated caucuses. Now, if I have to explain each and every aspect of it, so general speakers list is nothing but it is kind of a generic speech that you usually give as an opening stance for your country. For example, if a country such as Sweden is giving their general speakers list, so on the agenda, so what the delegate will be doing is they will be providing certain insights regarding the agenda. It can be regarding the agenda, it can be regarding their country's initiatives towards the agenda, it can be regarding certain problems associated with the agenda, it can be anything. So the scope and the ambit of a general speakers list is very huge. So you can speak anything within a general speakers list. And if I have to talk about the timings, whenever you are giving a speech, there is a total speakers time for that speech, and there is an individual speakers time for that speech. For example, a general speakers list, the default time for a general speakers list under the UNA USA procedures is 90 seconds. However, that is not something which is permanent, and that depends on the wishes of the delegates as well. If with consensus, all the delegates want the time for the general speakers list to be moderated, it can be done as well. But the default time is usually for the individual speakers time is 90 seconds. Now, if I talk about the total speakers time, so the general speakers list doesn't have any total speakers time because general speakers list is non-exhaustive in nature. By non-exhaustive, I mean that a general speakers list would never end. It will keep on going throughout the end of the committee. And once a general speaker list elapses, the committee would then and there stop. That is why the executive board will keep on recognizing speakers for the general speakers list. Right. I would request all the delegates to put down their hands for now. I'll take doubts later once I explain the ROPs. I'll come to that. So this was regarding the general speakers list. So if I have to talk about the informal modes of debating, so there are two kind of informal debating. First is moderated caucuses and second is unmoderated caucuses. So unmoderated caucuses, if I have to talk about, they are also a kind of speech now which are on which is a bit similar to GSL. Now, how is a mod speech different from a GSL speech? So as I mentioned earlier, the ambit of a GSL speech is very huge. You can speak anything within under a general speakers list. However, in a moderated caucus, you all will be debating on a specific subset of the agenda, a specific subtopic within the agenda itself, and the debate would revolve around that topic. So that is what a moderated caucus is. If I have to talk about the individual speakers time, the default individual speakers time for a moderated caucus is individual speakers time is 60 seconds, and the total speakers time is 20 minutes. However, again, just as the GSL, that can also be altered if there is committee consensus with it. If the committee wishes to alter the individual speakers time or the total speakers time, they can do that. However, keep one thing in mind, that two things. First of all, the time for the individual speaker's time for a moderated caucus can never exceed the individual speaker's time of a GSL. So if the individual speaker's time for GSL has been taken as 90 seconds, a moderated caucus individual speaker's time cannot be of 120 seconds. It cannot exceed. It has to be either 90 itself, or it has to be 60, 30, 45, whatever the committee wishes. That is one thing. And second thing, whenever you all are proposing individual speakers time and total speakers time, keep one thing in mind, that the individual speakers time has to be divisible by the total speakers time. For example, if I tell you that the total speakers time for a moderated caucus would be 20 minutes and the individual speakers time would be 60 seconds. So this means that 20 is divisible by 1 minute. So which means that 20 speakers can be accommodated in this moderated caucus, and each one of them will be having 1 minute to speak. So that is what one thing you need to keep in mind, that it has to be divisible. So that was regarding the moderated caucus. If I have to talk about unmoderated caucus are kind of an informal session of under formal guidance. Obviously, it is kind of an informal lobbying session among the delegates itself, where we, the executive board, wouldn't have any say. It is a time for you all delegates to discuss certain more topics, to discuss the flow of the committee, that what all needs to be done and how the committee would go ahead and what all topics need to be discussed. So that is the purpose of an unmoderated caucus, and the executive board members will be watching all the delegates in the unmoderated caucus. However, we cannot intervene. We can only intervene if certain personal remarks are being made, that requires our intervention. Only then the executive board will intervene. Otherwise, that is the time only for the delegates itself. So that was regarding the unmoderated caucus. Any doubts till now? If you have any doubts, raise your hands. Then I'll move forward with the further ROPs. Yes, delegate of Nigeria.
I wanted to ask that the GSL can be about our country as well, right? General speakers list.
Right. It can be about anything. It can be about your country, that what your country has been doing in G20. It can be regarding what your country's contribution has been towards the agenda itself. It can also only be regarding the agenda itself and not at all related to your country as well. So it can be anything. That is the purpose of a GSL, a generic speech.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate of Egypt, followed by the delegate of USA.
I just want to ask that the mod caucus, can it be of 90 seconds? It's not exceeding the GSL that is of 90 seconds. So can we do the mod caucus for 90 seconds?
It can be of 90 seconds. However, that depends only on the committee consensus. If the committee as a whole feels that the 90 seconds should be the time for it, then go ahead. However, one thing, delegates, whenever you are raising motions, for example, if I raise motion for a more topic for 90 seconds and in total speakers timing 30 minutes, let's say, for example, so that motion would be then voted by the entire committee. If that motion gets the simple majority, only then the motion would be passed and that motion would be implemented. Only then we will be having a discussion on that more topic. So whenever you are raising motions, keep one thing in mind, that you have the committee consensus with it, such that the motion can be passed in the committee. So this is one thing to keep in mind. Delegate of USA, followed by delegate of Cambodia.
Yes, so the marking criteria in this committee, is it going to be averaged out or aggregated?
Right, I'll talk about the marking criteria later on when I'll discuss the general committee guidelines.
Also, would you be accepting a cross questioning in POIs or just asking once?
No cross questioning in POIs. You will raise a POI and the delegate will reply. I'll talk about POIs as well. A delegate of Cambodia, followed by a delegate of Singapore.
Thank you, Respected Chair. Will crisis prevail in the committee?
Pardon, delegate?
Chair, will crisis prevail in the committee?
Right. So crisis, usually there is no crisis per se in G20, because G20 is not a crisis oriented committee. However, if there is any sort of development, we'll tell you that. But for now, in G20, there is no crisis. Delegate of Singapore.
What all documentations will you be accepting?
Right. I'll come to the documentations when I'll be explaining the committee guidance. I'll explain the marking as well as the documentation.
No, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah,
Delegates.
just wanted to check
recognize,
whether
presence of
whether
committee.
Dr. Sonu Trivedi has joined or not. Just check it.
Right.
Really being super important for femicide, that there is a fight or like there is like a
She's a speaker for your committee.
Lakshik, would you just check once?
they kind of like feedback into what
No,
we
sir,
want
she hasn't joined the meeting.
So keep an eye as soon as ma'am joins.
Okay,
we
sir.
need to introduce her and then the talk
Sure.
can start. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Sure.
And update me on the EB group also.
Sure, sir.
You can carry on.
Right. So I'll move forward with further ROPs. So now I'll be talking about yields. So yields are something which are usually present only in a GSL and not in a moderated caucus. Now, what exactly a yield is? Yield is basically when you have a speech for 90 seconds under a GSL, but you only spoke for let's say 75 seconds and you are still left with 15 seconds. Now, how would you utilize that time? So that is where yields come into picture. So there are three kinds of yields. First is the yield to the executive board. The if the delegate is left with any time under their GSL, they can yield it to the executive board, and it is up to the wish of the executive board to utilize the time. The executive board can either raise a question against the delegate, or they can carry on forward with the committee proceedings as well. That is the yield to the executive board. Second is the yield to POIs. So yield to POIs means that it means that you will be open to questions. The delegate is willing to answer certain questions from other delegates. For example, if 15 seconds are left, which means that we can accommodate at least 2-3 POIs from other delegates. So that is how yield to POI would work. And it is up to the delegate can either answer the POI or they can refrain from answering. It is completely upon the wish of the delegate. And the third yield is regarding yield to another delegate. For example, if Australia has
So sorry to interrupt you, sir. Delegates, please recognize the presence of Director General Samarth Bhargav.
Thank you, everyone. Also, I hope the committee proceedings are going well. If the delegates have any doubts or any queries regarding the committee or regarding the platform, please feel to contact me or your EBs. Thank you and have a great time in the conference.
Thank you, Samarth. So, right. So I was talking about the third yield, which is basically a yield to another delegate. For example, if the delegate of Australia is left with 10 seconds, the delegate of Australia can lend their time to any other delegate. For example, the delegate of Cameroon. So it is up to the speaker of Cameroon, delegate of Cameroon, to take that time, that delegated time that has been given to them by the delegate of Australia. So that is how yield to another delegate works. My personal advice to all the delegates would be that if you are left with time, do utilize it for POIs. Do take POIs, as you will be marked for that. So that is one thing. And try to answer back the POI that has been raised by another delegate, because that would carry weightage and we would mark you upon that. So that is pertaining to yields. Now, if I have to, and one thing in mind, yields are only present in general speakers list. So it means that if a moderated caucus speech is going on, and if you are left with certain amount of time, for example, the mod caucus is of 60 seconds. However, you only spoke for 50 seconds and you are left with 10 seconds. So there will be no yields for that. The time and the speech would elapse then and there. So the point is that yields are only present in general speakers list while you are giving a GSL. That is one thing. And if I have moving forward, I'll explain you the points. So how do points function and what are points? So there are 4 points. First is the point of information. As I explained, point of information is nothing, but it is when you ask a question to a delegate, and if you want to seek certain information from the delegate regarding their speech. that is a point of information, and point of information can only be raised in GSL. Again, the same thing, POIs cannot be raised in a moderated caucus. However, there is one thing, we would be allowing certain degree of flexibility in the committee, which means that you can also have POIs incorporated within mod if time prevails. But for that, the delegates will have to raise a separate motion, that the delegate of XYZ would like to raise a motion for a mod caucus for individual speakers time and total speakers time incorporating POIs. So that is a separate kind of motion that can be raised, but only when the executive board allows that, and if the executive board feels that we have the time to do that. So, but apart from that, POIs only exist in GSL. That is one thing. Second point is regarding point of parliamentary proceedings, parliamentary inquiry. So point of parliamentary inquiry is basically when you want to inquire the executive board regarding the flow of the committee, that what is going to happen next in the committee and how the flow of the committee will go ahead. So that is when you raise point of parliamentary inquiry. Third point is the point of personal privilege. If you are feeling any personal discomfort, or if you feel that a particular speaker isn't audible, then you can raise a point of personal privilege regarding that point of personal privilege, that the delegate of XYZ is not audible. So that is how you use a point of personal privilege. And the last point is the point of order. So point of order is basically used through when during a factual inaccuracy that can be on the part of the executive board as well as on the part of other delegates. So a very plain example for that would be if a certain delegate states that Mumbai is the capital of India, and if any other delegate raises the point of order that it is wrong, you would have to say that the delegate of XYZ quoted that Mumbai is the capital of India, unquote. However, that statement is factually wrong, and the correct statement is that New Delhi is the capital of India. So that is how point of orders are used. Delegates, I would want you to recognize the presence of Miss Aarti Chopra as well.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Right. So that is how point of orders function. And delegates do keep one thing in mind, that do not raise points in the middle of a speech. When a delegate is speaking, kindly do not raise any point except for the point of personal privilege, because it is very unethical to interrupt a speaker when they are giving the speech. You can only raise a point of personal privilege to interrupt the speaker if the speaker isn't audible. Only then you can raise a point of personal privilege. And all the other points should be raised when any speaker is not speaking, so that the committee decorum is maintained. So that was regarding the points. Any doubts, delegates? Right, delegate of Mexico.
So for the POIs, is there going to will the committee accept the plea to follow up on the questions?
Right, sure, there will be, if plea to follow up is something which is completely upon the executive board. So I'll tell you all how plea to follow up functions. For example, if a delegate of Mexico asks a question to a delegate and the delegate replies, but if the delegate of Mexico isn't satisfied with their answer, they can raise a plea to follow up to the executive board, and it is upon the executive board. They can either grant the plea to follow up, which means that they can clarify what exactly delegate of Mexico meant by the question. They can simplify it a bit and then raise it again against the delegate. However, if we feel that the delegate has answered the question in their best capacity, then we can also deny that plea to follow up. And do keep one thing in mind, that when you are granted plea to follow up, do not raise a completely different question. That wouldn't be allowed by the executive board at all. I hope that answers your question. Delegate of European Union.
I wanted to ask to the chair that, as stated by the chair, that we cannot raise any point in the middle of a speech except point of personal privilege. But the handbooks, I've read multiple handbooks, and they state that we can use point of order as well in the middle of a speech. So can you please elucidate on that?
Right, delegate of European Union, you are right. Usually, point of orders can also be raised, but however, in this committee in G20, I would refrain. I would the executive board would refrain the delegates. Would want them to not raise point of orders in the middle of a speech. You can, however, raise point of orders after the speech has been completed, if it's clear. Only for
Noted.
this committee. Right. So that was regarding the ROPs. And now Lakshita and Agastya, do you want to add anything else?
Perfectly fine.
I think you've covered everything.
Right. So this was regarding the ROPs. Now, certain general guidelines. Uh, First guideline, that delegates chits are suspended in the committee. There will be no provision of chits, no substantive chits, no PY chits, nothing. So there would be chits are completely out of the picture. There wouldn't be any marking for that as well. That is why I did not explain the provision of chits, because chits are suspended in the committee. That is first thing. Second thing, it's regarding your position papers. Delegates, I'll do one thing. I'll provide you an email ID on the group, and you all have to send your position papers on that mail ID. I think you have sent your position papers on a personal mail. So I would want I would want you to send all your position papers on that mail. And the deadline for submitting position papers is 11:59 p.m. So if whoever hasn't submitted their position paper yet, please do it by 11:59, because that is something which is mandatory and that is required for you to proceed in the committee. So that was regarding the position papers. I'll share the Lakshay, if you could share the mail ID, or Agastya, if you could do that. Share the mail ID for the position papers, the official mail on the group itself. And that was regarding a position papers, and that mail ID which will be provided to you on the group, that will be used for all the other forms of documentation as well. If you want to submit any other forms of documentation to the executive board, send it to only to that mail ID, because you will be marked only on that. If you send any forms of documentation to our personal mail IDs or any other personal mail IDs, we won't be marking that. So keep that thing in mind. Send all your documents on that mail ID. That was regarding your position papers. Now, if I have to talk about documentation, right? So documentation, we will be expecting a unanimous document by the end of the committee, on the by day 3. And I will be the executive board will be explaining you what form of documentation the executive board expects tomorrow. That is the day 2. By the end of day 2, the executive board will brief you about the kind and form of documentation that the executive board expects in the committee, that is regarding the unanimous documentation that has to be submitted at the end on day 3. So that is regarding that. Apart from that, if you want to send any other forms of documentation, be it a joint statement, be it press releases, and be it the position paper itself, you are allowed to send all those documents. That can be either that can be individual documents that you can send on your own, or that can be a collaborative document if you are co-authoring with any other delegate. For example, if the delegate of USA and UK, they send a joint statement together, that is acceptable, and that will be marked. The delegates will be marked for that documentation. However, sending an individual documentation, sending any other forms of documentation isn't mandatory. It is completely upon the delegates. If they send the any other documents, they will be marked for that. If they do not send any other documents, we won't be marked for that. That is regarding documentation. However, we would expect a unanimous documentation by the end of the committee on day 3, for which we'll address you tomorrow by the end of day 2. So that is regarding your documentation. And with regarding your marking throughout the committee would be absolute marking, which means that you will be marked for every speech that you give. Which means that if you if you give 3 speeches, you will be marked separately for those 3 speeches, and those 3 speeches wouldn't be averaged out. So it means the more you speak, the more marks you will get on the basis of that. Because this is a small because this is not a very small committee, not a very huge committee. It has moderate delegates around 30. So I do believe that absolute marking can take place in the committee because delegates will get sufficient time to speak. And regarding your recognition, do not worry about recognition. I'll be maintaining the recognition as well, that how many times a speaker has given speeches, how many POIs a delegate has raised. So there will be recognition for that, and you will be getting equal recognition. So that is one thing. The average marking, if I have to talk about average marking, usually average marking works when there are chits in the committee. But if because in this committee chits are completely suspended, so there will be no average marking for that, and there will be only absolute marking for the speeches that you give. So that is regarding the general guidelines. Agastya, Lakshya, Lakshita, if you want to add anything else.
No, that's fine.
Right. Any doubts, delegates? Delegate of USA, go ahead.
Yeah, so you mentioned that chits aren't allowed, but personal documentation. So would you be accepting substantive chits, memorandums, or communiques?
The executive board is open for all kinds of documentation. It can, if you are sending any individual documentation, you can add up your substantive material to that. We will be marking you on the same. However, nothing substantive can be sent through chits. And if the delegates wish to communicate something to the executive board, do it via Zoom chat. If there is something personal that comes up, or if something that the delegate want to communicate to the executive board, send a personal Zoom chat message to Lakshita. She's the rapporteur, and she'll be taking care of all your personal doubts and queries via the Zoom chat. So if you want to send anything, do it through the Zoom chat. Uh, Nashra Hussain, delegate, can you rename yourself if it's right? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I was just facing a problem. Can we send the joint statement to you today?
Joint statement, right, you can send the joints. The deadline for the individual documentation is tomorrow, that is 12th October 11:59, post which we wouldn't be accepting any further individual documentation. So just to reiterate, the deadline for position papers is 11th October 11:59 p.m, and the deadline for any other forms of documentation is 12th October 11:59 p.m. Right. Delegate of
Could you send me the email ID to which we have to send the personal documentation?
right. Just a second.
The email ID has been sent on the WhatsApp group. If you're on the WhatsApp group, you can see the message with the email ID.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. That has been sent. Delegate of Singapore, go ahead.
Will there be double recognition in the committee?
Double recognition, that would depend how much time we are left with. But in my the executive board in their personal capacity would only grant a single recognition. For a mod, we can have further more topics, more mod topics. But if the executive board feels that there is if there are speakers left in the mod caucus, and if no new speaker is willing to speak, then in our personal capacity, we will have to give double recognition. But that is only when there is no new speaker. Only then we'll grant double recognition.
Yeah, and if substantial debate is going on, then of course.
Right. Delegate of Egypt, do you have any further doubt?
No, sorry, I'm just lowering my hand.
Cool, no problem. So that was regarding the ROPs and the general guidelines. Now, one thing, have you guys discussed? Do you guys have any more topics with you right now?
Yes, we had
Yes.
discussed topics together.
Right. So you
Yes.
have. So I think then there is no need for granting you an unmod. So we'll then begin with the formal session itself then. Right. So delegates will be starting with the formal session. Delegates, any motions on the floor to establish the agenda? And before delegates, just one thing before we start with the formal proceedings, we'll have the roll call. Right. Lakshita, are you there?
Yes. Okay, so I'll be calling out your portfolios. Kindly respond with a present or present and voting. Argentina. Argentina. Asian Development Bank. Delegates, I hope I'm audible.
Delegates, just one clarification that when you are responding to your roll call, you can respond it in two ways. First is you can say present, which means that the delegate is present, and second is present and voting, which means that at the end of the committee, as I mentioned, that there will be a document, unanimous document. So the voting would then take place on that document. Usually, what happens is separate blocks are formed, and on those and the whatever documentation has been presented by those blocks, voting takes place on that. So that is how it functions. The voting functions, and I'll explain you how voting exactly would take place at the end of day two. But however, responding to your roll call, you can respond as present and voting. The only difference between that is when you say present, at the end of the committee, you can either vote as well as you cannot vote. That is completely your choice. But if you say present and voting, then you have to then you are under the obligation to vote. So you'll have to vote and you cannot abstain at that point of time. So that is the only difference between present and voting. Am I clear? Right. Lakshita, please begin again with the roll call. I think one delegate wasn't able to join.
Okay. Argentina. Asian Development Bank.
Present.
Australia.
Present.
Bangladesh. Delegate of Bangladesh. Brazil. Canada.
Delegate of Brazil. Yes, your roll call.
Yeah, present and voting.
Canada.
Present and voting.
China.
Present and voting.
Egypt.
Present and voting.
European Union.
Present and voting.
France. Delegate of France. Germany.
Present and voting.
IMF.
Present and voting.
India.
Present and voting.
Indonesia. Indonesia. Okay.
Present and voting.
This is the delegate of Indonesia, right? Okay.
Present and voting.
Right. Italy.
Yeah.
Present and voting.
Japan. Mexico.
Present.
Netherlands.
Present and voting.
Nigeria.
Present and voting.
Portugal.
Present and voting.
Republic of Korea.
Present.
Delegate, could you repeat that? Delegate of Korea, could you repeat your okay. Okay, moving.
Sorry,
I was just asking, did you say present or present in voting?
present.
Okay. Russian Federation. Delegate of Russian Federation. Saudi Arabia.
Present.
Singapore.
Present.
South Africa.
Delegate of South Africa. Spain.
Present and voting.
Turkey.
Present and voting.
UAE. Delegate of UAE.
Present.
UK.
Present and voting.
USA.
Present and voting.
World Bank.
Present and voting.
Right, so I'll be calling out the portfolios who missed their voting and just respond this time. Argentina, Bangladesh, France, Japan, Russian Federation, South Africa, and yeah, that's it.
Delegate of Austria. Um, just a second, delegate. In the committee matrix that the executive board has been provided with, there is no delegate of Austria in G20. Delegate of Austria, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. But we just got the countries like yesterday.
Right. Delegate of Cambodia, are you there?
Yes, Chair.
Right. So did you also get your portfolios yesterday?
So I got my portfolios day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday. All right. I'll just confirm once from the secretariat. But in the meantime, what is your roll call?
Present and voting.
All right. Delegate of Cambodia, present and voting, and delegate of Austria,
Present and voting.
present and voting. Right. I'll just check in with the secretariat because the matrix we were provided with the committee matrix, I think a week before. So maybe that's why they might have not updated it. I'll just check once and come back to you again. Right. Right. Lakshita, in the meantime, just in the roll call sheet, just add the delegate of Austria and as well as Cambodia in the under the attendance sheet.
Done.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Madhushweta, teacher in charge. Arnav, I just wanted to clarify that Turkey, has Turkey joined with two systems because two names are reflecting.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now I think you have logged out. Yeah, Cambodia and which is the other one? Austria. I'll just confirm and I'll change the matrix if they have been added today or day after, the day before yesterday. Okay.
Right. So am I allowed to join the debate? I already. Delegate, if you were delegate of Austria, if you were allotted your portfolio, I think you will be allowed for debate. We'll allow you for debate and you will be a part of the committee. Don't worry. We'll just clarify once so that we can change the official matrix and the attendance sheet as well.
One more minute. I request Turkey to get logged out from one of the devices. Just be there from one device. Turkey.
Delegate of Turkey. Right. So delegates, that was with the roll call. So now I am looking for a motion to establish the agenda. Any motion? Delegate of Turkey, go ahead.
The delegate of Turkey would like to raise a motion to set the agenda as the Ukraine war and disruption in global food and fuel supplies.
By discretion of the executive board, the agenda has been established. Just one thing, I'll check the committee matrix 34. Right. So the simple majority for the committee would be then 18. Keep that thing in mind, delegates. So if you want a motion to be passed, the simple majority has to be of 18. Right. Just a second. Lakshita, did the delegates who did not respond to their roll call earlier, did any one of them respond afterwards?
No, they did not.
They did not, right? Delegate of Argentina, Bangladesh, France, Japan, Russian Federation, and South Africa. Delegates, are you there?
I just got a message from Russia that they've given their roll call, so I'll just mark it in the sheet.
Right. Any other delegate whose name has been called out and who hasn't been marked? Oh, right. So seeing none, so we'll move forward. So for now, the simple majority is 18. But that is subject to change tomorrow and day after tomorrow, depending on the strength of the committee. So delegates motion to establish the agenda. I'm looking for to establish the general speakers list. Delegate of UK.
The delegate of the United Kingdom would like to raise a motion to establish the general speakers list.
All right. General speakers list. Delegates in favor of the motion to establish a general speakers list for 90 seconds, the default time. Kindly raise your hands. Right. Agastya or Lakshya, just count the number of hands raised.
Yeah, the motion passes.
All right, the motion passes. So the general speakers list has been established. So the delegate of UK, you would be the first speaker. So delegate of UK, go ahead with your speech, and post the speech of delegate of UK, we'll be recognizing more speakers for the general speakers list.
Right.
Just a second, delegate, one thing before we begin, what timestamps you guys need is that I'll give you a single tap at 45 seconds, and I'll give you a double tap 90 seconds, which means that your time has elapsed. And if you want, we can also either Lakshya or Agastya, they can share their screen as well for a timer. So if you want that, we'll do that as well. Just a
I
second.
suppose that
Yes, delegate of UK.
I just wanted to ask which one of the two timestamps that you had told us, which one of those will be followed?
For now, I'll be giving you a tap at 45 and a double tap at 90 seconds. If that makes sense. Lakshya, could you note the verbatim as well in the meantime?
No.
Right,
I'll be noting that.
Okay, Augusta will do it. Right. So delegate of UK.
Delegate of Indonesia has raised their hand.
Yeah. Apologies, delegate of Indonesia. Is it pertaining to any doubt?
No, I'm so sorry. I must have raised it by mistake.
No problem, delegate. Delegate of UK, you have the floor for the next 90 seconds. You may begin now.
Respected Executive Board and delegates, I stand before you as a delegate of the United Kingdom. Today, I shall be talking about the Ukraine war and the destruction in global food and fuel supply. First of all, I would like to mention that calling the war just the Ukraine war would not deem fit. Thus, it must be mentioned as the Russian invasion of Ukraine or the Russo-Ukrainian war. Next up, I would like to make it clear that United Kingdom does not appreciate Russia's actions and condemns them to be at fault with the problem at hand. The given agenda affects the United Kingdom heavily, along with certain other countries. I would like to talk about the same. Given that Russia and Ukraine are two of the world's largest exporters of various food commodities like wheat, corn, and barley, due to the war, the prices have fluctuated heavily in the English and the global market. For example, the FAO Food Price Index shows that the price went up by about almost 50%, from 98.1 points in 2020 to 125.7 points in 2021, which was due to the pandemic, after which, due to the war, further increase took place. which resulted in an all-point high in 2022 with 159.7 points. After this, it has receded due to the relief caused by the Black Sea Grain Initiative for a while before its failure. Certain products in particular are still heavily priced. For example, sugar went up from 109.3 points in 2021 to 162.7 points currently in September 2023. Lastly, Russia is a huge exporter of oil and oilseeds. So there was a 244%
Delegate,
increase
conclude with your speech.
percent increase in the price of oil barrels from $40 in 2020 to $137.72 in 2022. Thus, it is obvious that a solution is required and quick, as another increase in the commodity prices is on the verge. And I would like to end by stating that all of this causes inconvenience, and the prime cause behind this is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, the delegate of United Kingdom. You have elapsed your time. Now we'll be looking for speakers who want to add their names to the general speakers list. Delegates, those who wish to speak, add their names in the general speakers list, kindly raise their hands. Lakshita, kindly keep on noting the names, whoever I am recognizing, and add it to the Zoom chat as well.
Sure, I'll do that.
Right. So the delegate of Canada, you have been recognized. You can lower your hand. The delegate of European Union, you have been recognized. Please lower your hand. The delegate of Mexico, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. The delegate of Russian Federation, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. The delegate of Australia, you have been recognized. The delegate of China, you have been recognized. The delegate of Brazil, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. The delegate of UAE, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. The delegate of IMF, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. The delegate of Singapore, Singapore, you have been recognized. The delegate of Egypt, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. The delegate of Spain, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. The delegate of Portugal, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. Delegate of Austria, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. Delegate of Indonesia, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. Delegate of World Bank, you have been recognized. Kindly lower your hand. Delegate of Portugal, you have been recognized, right? Lakshita, has delegate of Portugal been recognized?
Yes, he has been.
Yes, delegate of Portugal, lower your hand. Has delegate of Nigeria been recognized?
No.
All right, delegate of Nigeria, you have been recognized. Delegate of Cambodia, you have been recognized. Netherlands, delegate of India, and delegate of France. Are you there?
Yes, EB.
Lakshita, did France respond to their roll call?
I'm sorry. I had just joined due to going for some other competition.
Right, no worries. What is your roll call, the delegate of France?
Present and voting.
Present and voting. All right, I'll change that. So delegate of France, you may lower your hand. Delegate of Turkey, you have been recognized. Okay, for now, these speakers are there in the general speakers list. Lakshita, can you send the list on the Zoom chat?
Yes.
Right. Please send it on the group as well.
Sure.
Right. So delegates, this is the list for the general speakers list. However, those who haven't been recognized, we will recognize you as well, because as mentioned earlier, the general speakers list is not exhaustive in nature. So which means that it will keep on going throughout the committee, and we will be recognizing delegates for the same. Right. So delegate of Canada, are you there?
Yes.
Right. Delegate, you have the floor for the next 90 seconds. You may begin now.
Good evening, delegates and EB. I, representing the great nation of Canada, am deeply concerned about the repercussions of the ongoing Ukraine conflict on global food and fuel supplies. Today, I stand before you to address the critical issue, highlighting the challenges it poses and proposing concrete solutions for the betterment of our world. The Ukraine conflict has profoundly impacted global food supplies. Ukraine has seen its agricultural structure severely disrupted, leading to a decline in production and exports. Canada underscores the importance of immediate humanitarian assistance to Ukraine and affected regions. This includes providing essential food, shelter, medical supplies, and support for displaced populations. We strongly advocate for a peaceful diplomatic resolution to the Ukraine conflict. In the long term, Canada believes that diversifying global supply chains is crucial to reduce resilience on a conflict-prone region. This can be achieved by investing in sustainable agriculture in various parts of the world to enhance food production capacity and reduce dependency on a single source. Promoting responsible sourcing practices to ensure food supply chain resilience and sustainability. To enhance global energy security, we encourage a collective commitment to transitioning toward cleaner and more renewable energy sources. Reducing our dependency
Delegate,
on
you
fossil
have
fuels.
elapsed your time. Please conclude.
The Ukraine conflict, far-reaching impact on global food and fuel supplies demands our collective attention and concerned action. Canada stands ready to collaborate with our international partners to address these challenges and work towards a more stable, secure, and sustainable world where the basic needs of all nations are met. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the delegate of Canada. However, you are not left with any time. So we'll move on to the next speaker. The next speaker is Lakshay. Just keep on recognizing the next speaker, whoever is there. The next speaker is the delegate of European Union. Delegate of European Union, are you there? Delegate of European Union, are you there?
Yes, Chair.
Right. Delegate, you have the floor for the next 90 seconds. You may begin now. Just one thing, delegates, are you able to hear the taps that I give? You aren't able to hear.
No, sir.
Right. So what we can do is, Lakshay, can you share your screen if it's possible?
I'll just check it.
Right.
With the prior permission of the chair, the delegate.
Delegate of European Union. Just a second.
Yes, of course.
I think my screen is visible to all. Can anyone confirm that?
Yes, it's visible. Just set a timer for 90 seconds.
Can you see the timer?
Yes.
And okay.
Honorable Chair, with the prior permission of the chair, the delegate of EU would like to contribute to the general speakers list. May the delegate begin?
Right. We'll reset the timer. Right. Delegate of European Union, You may begin now.
Honorable Chair and esteemed delegates, I stand before you today as a delegate representing the European Union, a group valuing peace, solidarity, and cooperation among nations. We gather here to address two pressing issues that have far-reaching consequences for our world: the Ukrainian war and the disruption in global food and fuel supplies. About Ukraine, the European Union is deeply concerned about the continued violence and instability in the region. We strongly condemn any violence and violation of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The EU firmly believes that conflict should be resolved through diplomatic means. We urge Russia to play a constructive role in de-escalating tensions. Diplomacy must prevail, and we stand ready to support all international efforts aimed at achieving lasting peace. In the context of European peace agreements, the EU has been instrumental in fostering peace through initiatives like the Helsinki Accords and the Good Friday Agreement. Turning to the issue of global food and fuel supply disruptions, the European Union encourages nations to invest in sustainable agriculture and reduce trade barriers. This shift and it is imperative to transition towards cleaner and renewable energy. In closing, the European Union advocates for international cooperation and unity in addressing the Ukrainian war. Thank you.
Delegate of European Union, you are left with 2 seconds. How would you like to use your time?
The delegate of European Union yields time to the chair.
Perfect. Thank you very much, the delegate of European Union. The next speaker on the list is the delegate of Mexico. Delegate of Mexico, are you there?
Yes.
All right, delegate, you have the floor for the next 90 seconds. You may begin now.
Greetings to the executive board and all delegates. I am here on behalf of the delegation of Mexico to discuss the devastating impact of the Ukraine war on global food and fuel supplies. The war has disrupted agricultural production and transportation, leading to higher prices and shortages of these essential commodities in the markets. Mexico, being a significant importer of food and fuel, shares deep concerns about the impact of the Ukraine war on our economy and the people, and we are working towards diversifying our sources of supply and reducing our reliance on imports. The war has also had a significant impact on global fuel supplies. Russia is a major exporter of oil and gas, and the war has led to sanctions and other disruptions that have driven up energy prices. This is making it more difficult and expensive for people to heat their homes, power their businesses, and transport goods and services, especially in developing countries. We urge the international community to take immediate action to address this food and fuel supply crisis. It is essential to end the war in Ukraine immediately, provide humanitarian and assistance to those affected, and work together to increase agricultural production and diversify energy sources. The delegation of Mexico is committed to working with the international community to address this crisis. We urge all countries to join us in this effort. Thank you.
All right, delegate of Mexico, you are left with 7 seconds. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield it to POIs.
To POIs. Delegates, because we are left with 7 seconds, so we can accommodate one POI. Delegates, those who wish to ask a POI to the delegate of Mexico, kindly raise your hands. Delegate of UAE, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, for recognition. All right, so delegate of Mexico, in your speech, you mentioned about diversifying energy sources. Can you please mention the ways in which you will diversify the energy sources?
So diversifying energy sources refers to using new methods, new processes to accommodate energy for the country's development. This could be done through wind energy, solar energy, all the different types of energy that have not yet been utilized in different parts of Mexico, instead of relying on conventional methods.
Okay.
Right, delegate. Thank you very much for that speech. The next delegate on the general speakers list is the delegate of Russia. Delegate of Russia, are you there?
Yes.
All right.
Greetings, yes.
Delegate, you may begin.
Greetings, delegate. National security is the ability to preserve the nation's physical integrity, to safeguard its people, and to ensure the nation's ability for welfare. Russia has expressed concern for the Russian-speaking populations in Ukraine. American journalist Seymour Hersh revealed that Ukraine is buying discounted diesel from Russians from ages, according to a renowned report everyone must know here, was published on April 12th. According to CIA's labor report, Hershey even showcased that CIA Director William J. Burns had a meeting with Zelensky, where Burns told that Ukraine government having corrupt officials, namely 35 of them, and to highlight the fact none of them were in charge of the food, all of them were in charge of the food security department. No action taken whatsoever. Doesn't it show how easy it is to meddle with the system itself? Peace and security are not finite commodities like land, oil, or gold. They are like the freedom, the eternal truth that binds together. And that's why Russia has historically been a major supplier of natural gas at favorable pricing for gas imports, even considering at times the country has provided humanitarian assistance to Ukraine when in need. For example, in 2014, it had sent a convoy of trucks carrying humanitarian assistance to eastern Ukraine and Minsk agreements, and this is the time when the war had even started. So isn't it evident enough how Russia can't always be portrayed as the violent one, considering how it always tries to put forward the trade fuel agreements and encouraging local production? Thus, peace does not fare well when there is deprivation.
Delegate, you have elapsed your time. Kindly conclude.
Okay. It does not flourish when there is ignorance and lack of information. Therefore, repression, injustice, and exploitation are inimical with peace. Thank you.
Right. So, delegate of Russia, you have elapsed your time. And also one thing, delegates, while you are giving your speech, kindly make sure that your cameras are turned on so that we can also get a fair amount of idea the way you speak and how are you speaking. So that does have a role to play with. So it is advised that all the delegates while speaking keep their cameras on. Right. So the next delegate on the general speakers list is the delegate of Australia.
Yes, Chair. May I begin?
Delegate, you have 90 seconds and you may begin now.
The current state of the global economy is due to many factors, beginning with the global pandemic in 2020 and was solidified due to the escalation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2022. A way needs to be found that these conflicts similar to these do not play a major role on the global economy and lead the same into a global recession, raising inflation all over the globe and impacting the lives of people all over. To add to this, the global supply chains have been disrupted due to the recent developments in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russian and Ukrainian exports stopped, resulting in major issues in the global supply chain. Most of these issues were due to the application of sanctions. Australia believes it's key to understand that sanctions are the future of diplomatic warfare and its necessity to grade them, allowing them to impact those responsible in a precise and targeted manner and reduce the impact on the global economy. The creation of a graded system for sanctions is required to measure and prevent sanctions from leading to a global recession. The Black Sea Grain Initiative began exports from Ukraine to regions all around the globe. Since August 2022, the Black Sea Initiative has shipped over 32 million metric tons of Ukrainian grain and food to the world, including some of the most food insecure regions like the Horn of Africa and Yemen. It is pivotal to make sure the exported materials reach emergency zones recognized by the World Food Programme, especially in Africa. To make sure this happens, we need to initiate sustainable supply chains. There are also made part that requirements that reduce the chances of a global recession. As stated by the United Nations Industrial and Development Organization, supply chains are essential to trade, and trade is essential to job creation.
Delegate, you have elapsed your time. Please conclude.
It is crucial to understand the role of each country in creating an economically sustainable future and preventing major economic issues all over the globe. Australia wishes to deliberate more on these problems in upcoming discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the delegate of Australia. You have elapsed your time. The next speaker is the delegate of China. Delegate of China, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Right, delegate, you have the floor for the next 90 seconds and you may begin now.
Thank you. Hunger is not an issue of charity. It is an issue of justice.
Good afternoon to distinguished EB and the fellow delegates. The Ukraine war has triggered global disruptions in markets for key food crops and fuels, threatening food and fuel security worldwide. Food security has already been pushed to the center of China's policy agenda by tensions and the economic dislocation. Rising food and farm input prices, on top of food shortages and panic buying, has created risks to social stability. The government may be forced to dip into grain reserves in order to guarantee food and minimize inflation. China's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs and the Ministry of Finance issued a notice requiring local authorities to mull an all-out effort to guarantee the harvest of crops. The notice coming at a time that protracted Russia-Ukraine war has stressed the global food systems and pushed their records to high prices. China has set a goal to ensure grain output above 650 billion kilograms. It is important to implement comprehensive strategies and systems to ensure food security within conflict-affected regions, such as local food processing units. Humanitarian organizations should prioritize the establishment of small-scale community-based food processing units in affected areas. These units should be equipped to process and preserve perishable foods, therefore extending their shelf life and ensuring a sustainable supply. In conclusion, China is committed to the cause of food and food security and the well-being of all nations. Together, we can build a future where no one goes hungry. Thank you.
All right, delegate of China, you have elapsed your time. So we'll be moving forward with UAE, then IMF, then we'll be taking motions. Right? The delegate of UAE, are you there? All right, delegate, you have the floor for the next 90 seconds.
Actually, if I'm not to interrupt, the Brazil was before me in the list. So if he wants to speak.
Delegate of apologies, delegate, apologies. So apologies on the behalf of executive board. Delegate of Brazil, are you there?
Yes.
Right. So delegate of Brazil, followed by the delegate of UAE, then we'll take motions. Delegate of Brazil, you may begin.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the delegation of Brazil stands today to emphasize a transformative pathway toward a more sustainable future, transitioning to renewable sources. It is imperative that we reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and embrace cleaner alternatives. Brazil has made significant strides with biofuel industry, setting an example for the global community to follow. Our biofuel industry thrives on abundance of sugarcane, a sustainable, renewable source that serves the foundation for ethanol production. Brazil has not only reduced its carbon footprint, but also strengthened its economy, creating jobs and enhancing energy security in the process. We urge fellow nations to embrace this transformative approach, invest in renewable energy, infrastructure, and promote research and development in biofuels. This is an opportunity to reduce carbon emissions, mitigate the environmental impact of the energy consumption. It is within our power to make a significant impact on the environment and to secure a brighter future for the generations to come. Brazil stands ready to collaborate, share knowledge, and support the growth of biofuels on a global scale. Let us harness the power of sustainable energy, and in doing so, usher in an era of prosperity, progress, and a cleaner, healthier world. Thank you.
Delegate, you are left with 3 seconds. How would you like to yield your time?
I'd like to pass my time to the next person, next delegate.
Next person, delegate of UAE. So you will have 3 more seconds.
Okay, sir.
All right.
Okay. So just a second.
Sure.
So should I begin?
Yes, delegate, you may begin.
Until Russia's invasion on Ukraine, the Nord Stream 1 and 2 gas pipelines were a key part of Europe's energy infrastructure. It opened in 2011 and could send a maximum of 170 cubic meters of gas per day from Russia to Germany. In the fourth quarter of 2021, the Nord Stream pipelines supplied 18% of all Europe's natural gas imports. But unfortunately, in late September, an unexpected damage caused 4 leaks in the subsea pipeline system. The pipeline was cut and damaged by around 60%. The project led to discussions of sanctions and diplomatic tensions between the United States and Russia, as well as debate between the EU over its energy policy and the role of Russian gas. Due to the explosion in the Nord Stream 1, methane, a greenhouse gas up to 80 times more powerful than carbon dioxide, escaped into the atmosphere from 3 boiling patches on the surface of the Baltic Sea. The leaks would equate about 14 million tons of carbon dioxide. Thus, UAE recommends a solution to resolve the energy crisis in Europe. We suggest the use of lithium-ion storage, analyzing the distribution of peak load hours and maximum power generation, and to increase efficiency, lithium-ion storage with a capacity of 10 megawatt hour can play a role as a differentiating factor. Using this over time will be less costly because lithium is a comparatively common element and also has a greater output. We also recommend building interconnected energy systems and better integrated grids to support renewable energy sources by using solar energy systems. Solar technologies include photovoltaic and concentrated solar power plants which are operated.
Right. Delegate of UAE, you are left with 5 seconds. How would you like to use your time?
Just before that, delegate of UAE, I'll have to request for a repetition.
Yes, sir.
What did you say about building interconnected what? I couldn't catch you after that.
Can you repeat that? I didn't get you, pardon.
Building interconnected, and what was after that?
Building interconnected energy systems and better integrated grids to support renewable energy sources by using solar energy systems.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir, I would like to yield it to POIs.
POIs, right. Delegates who wish to ask POI to the delegate of UAE, please raise your hands. Delegate of Canada, go ahead.
As we know that UAE is the major supplier of fuel. So how can your country help Ukraine overcome from this problem?
Right. So firstly, we're already sending a lot of help to Ukraine. We're sending cargo ships, we're sending planes, which have, fuel, food, humanitarian assistance, humanitarian aid. We're sending help to Ukraine. And secondly, we're also trying to take out as much fuel and help Ukraine as much because the Ukraine war has hit badly to the world and the supply of fuel has reduced. So that is why we are trying to take out some of the fuel from our everyday needs and trying to, supply it to the world.
Right. I hope that answers your question, the delegate of Canada. Right. So next speaker on the list. All right. So after UAE, we were about to take motions, right? So delegates, motions on the floor. So we'll be any other Canada, UAE, Mexico, Austria, European Union, UK, any other delegate who wishes to raise motion. Right. We'll take delegate of Singapore and we'll take delegate of Mexico and we'll take the delegate of Turkey. Right, Singapore, Mexico, and Turkey.
The delegate of Singapore would like to raise a motion for the mod caucus on the topic deliberation upon conflict resolution and transportation agreements and sanctions with special emphasis over the Black Sea initiative with individual person time being 90 seconds.
Delegate, the total speakers time?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Delegate of Singapore, could you also send your motion on the Zoom chat as well for the other delegates?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So the motion that has been raised by the delegate of Singapore is deliberation upon conflict resolution and transportational agreements and sanctions with the special emphasis over the Black Sea initiative for the individual speakers time being 90 seconds and the total speakers time being 30 seconds. Delegates in favor of the motion raised by the delegate of Singapore, kindly raise your hands. Lakshya, just count the heads that how many are in favor and how many against. We'll give them a minute. We'll give them a minute.
Sure. So all the delegates in favor of the motion, kindly raise your hands now. I can only see 10 hands.
Delegates who are in favor of the motion raised by the delegate of Singapore, it is in the chat. Okay, 11 votes in favor. Delegates against the motion raised first, lower down the hands, everyone. Everyone, please lower their hands. Delegate of Austria, please lower your hand. Right. So now delegates against the motion raised by the delegate of Singapore, kindly raise your hands. Delegates do vote because I can see the committee matrix. It's 34 delegates, and I don't think so everyone is voting. So there are 13 votes against, so clearly this motion fails. So we'll be moving forward with the motion that will be raised by the delegate of Mexico. Delegate of Mexico.
The delegate of Mexico would like to raise a motion to keep the general speaker list going.
Delegate, pardon?
The delegate of Mexico would like to raise a motion to keep the general speakers list going.
Delegate of Mexico, that isn't a motion per se. See, what happens is that GSL is something which keeps on, it takes place throughout the committee, and in between GSL, you have your motions for moderated caucus. So moderated caucus is basically so that you can have a specific debate regarding a subtopic. So for that, the motions that I am asking for are either only for the moderated caucus topics or only for the unmod, if you wish to have an unmod. So that motion you have raised is out of order. So I'll have to move forward with the motion raised that will be raised by the delegate of Turkey. Delegate of Turkey, are you there?
The delegate of Turkey would like to second the motion raised by the delegate of Singapore.
You would like to second. So we'll have a voting again on the motion that has been raised by the delegate of Turkey, which is deliberation upon conflict resolution and transportational agreements and sanctions with special emphasis over the Black Sea Initiative, with individual speakers time being 90 seconds and total speakers time being 30 minutes. Delegates in favor, Russia, do you have any doubt? Lower your hand. Delegates, lower your hand. Delegate of Russia, do you have any doubt? All right, cool. So delegates in favor of the motion raised by the delegate of Turkey, kindly raise your hands. We'll give a minute. I'm just checking the roll call. Delegate of Argentina, Bangladesh, Japan, and South Africa are not there, so we'll not count their votes. So it means that the total, that the simple majority would stand at, it would stand at 16 then. Right.
11 hands currently raised.
12 hands are, so you need 16 votes as the simple majority. So 12 in favor. All right. Delegates against the motion raised by the delegate of Turkey. Everyone lower down your hands first. Everyone lower down your hands. Mexico, please lower your hand. Delegate of Mexico. All right, we'll still go ahead. Delegates against the motion raised by the delegate of Turkey, please raise your hands. delegates, there have to be 30 votes because there are 30 delegates in the committee. So the executive board needs 30 votes. Uh, 12 votes against. Delegates, please vote. Kindly vote. You require votes in order for a motion to pass. And I can see that not everyone is voting. 13 votes, all right. So clearly, this motion also fails. Everyone hands down. Delegates, did you have, do you need an unmod? Because 3 motions have failed. So do you need any unmod, or should I take one more recognition? I'll take, all right. I'll take the delegate of United States of America and the delegate of Austria.
I raised my hand by mistake, Chair. Sorry.
All right. So I'm asking for motions. Any other motions?
Delegate of Austria, yeah, you were raising your hand.
Delegate of Austria, is it for a motion? All right. So we'll take the delegate of Austria, followed by delegate of European Union. We'll take your motions then.
The delegate of Austria would like to propose a moderated caucus for a total of 45 minutes. Speaker's time 60 seconds on the Ukraine war and the country's stances on the situation.
Delegate of Austria, can you also post the topic in the Zoom chat?
Also mention each speaker's time and the total speaker's time.
Yes, do mention that.
The delegate has sent it.
You have sent it, just a second. All right, so moderated caucus for the total time being 45 minutes, the individual speaker's time being 60 seconds on the topic, the Ukraine war and the country's stances on the situation. All right, delegates in favor of the motion raised by the delegate of Austria, kindly raise your hands. Delegates in favor of the motion raised by the delegate of Austria. So this motion clearly fails. All right, everybody hands down. Delegates, I'm asking informally, do you guys need an unmod? Delegates, those who wish to have, this is an informal voting, not a procedural voting. Delegates, those who wish to have an unmod, please raise your hands. Delegates, those who are against the unmod, please raise your hands. There are 16 votes for an informal voting, and when I ask for the voting on the motions, there are 18 votes against. But when I ask for the motion voting, why are there no hands at that time? Also, delegates, do you have any mod? Because 4 motions have been raised and none of them has passed. So are you guys on consensus or not? Because I cannot feel that you are on consensus at all. We'll take, all right, delegate of everyone hands down. Right, so delegate of European Union, yes, you were recognized. We'll have a voting on your motion, post which we'll continue with the GSLs if no motion is getting raised or passed. All right, delegate of European Union, your motion.
The delegate of European Union does not currently have a motion but wishes the GSL to be continued.
All right, so delegates, you want the GSLs to be continued. But delegates, then when will you have a discussion on the more topics? Because GSL is something which will keep on going on, regardless of where the committee stands. It will, GSL is constant speech. It will keep on going till the end. But you also need to have certain more topics, certain motions as well. So, all right, what I'll do is, Lakshay, at when do we have a break? A short break, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it's scheduled at 3:35.
3:35. All right. So we'll take 2 or 3 more GSLs then. Then I think I will give you a break. And post a break, I want a motion to be raised, and I want that motion should be passed, because it's day one and we haven't still started with any motion. So I want a motion to be passed by committee consensus, and I want each one of you to vote on that motion. Till the time we'll continue with the GSLs only. Right. Doubts, delegates, any doubts?
The delegate of EU would like to state that the committee wishes that five more speakers from the GSL may speak, and after that, if we can have a moderated caucus.
Oh, right. One thing, delegates, whenever
Point of personal inquiry. Sorry,
Delegate-
parliamentary inquiry.
delegates, when you raise your hand, the executive board will recognize you, and the executive board will ask delegate as to what point, and then you have to say, delegate, EB, it's a point of parliamentary inquiry, point of personal privilege, and then you can go ahead. So keep that thing in mind. Delegate of as to what European Union, delegate of European Union, we have a break at 3:35. So till that time, we'll have 1 or 2 GSL speeches, and after that, we'll then move forward, right? Delegate of International Monetary Fund, as to what point?
Point of parliamentary inquiry. Will the executive board be accepting motions after the initial recognized speakers have spoken in the GSL?
More speak. Delegate, could you repeat yourself?
Like, will there be motions recognized after the initially recognized speakers have spoken, like for the GSL?
You were asking for GSL, right? So the list for GSL that has been sent on the Zoom chat as well as on the group. For now, that list of 22 speakers stands. When the list will be when almost all these speakers have spoken, then we will be recognizing more speakers again. So do not worry if you haven't been recognized, you will be recognized again. But for now, delegate of IMF, right? You are the next speaker for the GSL, right?
Yes, I believe that's right.
Right. So we'll begin with you only. UAE was the last speaker, right? IMF, the delegate of IMF.
I hope the screen is visible and the timer is also visible to you. If you could confirm.
Yes,
Point of personal privilege. Am I visible?
Yes, you are visible.
Yes, delegate of IMF, you are visible.
Permission to begin?
Yes, delegate, you may begin.
Good morning to the Honorable Chair and fellow delegates. As the International Monetary Fund, we stand before the esteemed members of the G20 today to address a critical issue that has far-reaching consequences for our global community. The Ukraine war and its impact on the disruption of global food and supply.
Delegate, you have gone on.
Apologies, my mic got turned off. I'm having some reconnection. Permission to begin?
You want to be delegate of IMF begin again. Lakshay, restart the time.
Really sorry.
No. Delegate, you may begin now.
Right. As the International Monetary Fund, we stand before the esteemed members of the G20 to address this critical issue. And Ukraine is known as the breadbasket of Europe, and its agricultural production plays a vital role in ensuring food security for numerous countries. Now, turning to fuel supplies, Ukraine is a crucial transit route for natural gas and oil, with pipelines that traverse the region. The International Monetary Fund condemns the aggression that has caused untold suffering to the people of Ukraine. We call upon the Russian Federation to cease hostilities immediately, respect international law and the sovereignty of Ukraine, and engage in diplomatic efforts to resolve this conflict peacefully. The IMF is committed to helping Ukraine through this difficult time. The IMF has already provided Ukraine with over 2 billion in financial assistance and is prepared to provide more support as needed. The IMF is also working with Ukraine to develop a comprehensive economic reform program that will help to boost growth and make the economy more resilient. Thank you.
Right. Delegate of IMF, you are, how would you like to yield your time? We're left with 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'd like to yield my time to POIs.
POIs. All right. So we'll have 5 POIs because 30 seconds are left. Delegates who wish to ask a POI to the delegate of International Monetary Fund, please raise your hand. We can incorporate up to 5 POIs. Post which I think we'll head for break if possible. Delegates, those who wish to ask a POI to the delegate of IMF, kindly raise your hands. No one wants to ask a question to the delegate of IMF. Delegate of UK, all right, you have been recognized. Delegate of Indonesia, all right, you have been recognized. We can incorporate 3 more POIs. Delegate of Canada, you have been recognized. Delegates, if trust me, if you are getting the chance to ask a POI, do ask a POI, because 2 things. First of all, it would POI fetches you marks. There is marking for POIs, so it would be beneficial for you only to ask POIs. And secondly, if you ask POIs, it would also be counted under the marking criteria of lobbying as well as guidance to debate, because it means that you are listening to the other delegates' speeches and you are contributing towards the committee. So it shows we as the executive board members get to know that the delegate is active in the committee and is listening to the other delegates as well. That is why POIs are very important. And if you are getting the chance, you should raise the POI. Right. So delegate of Nigeria followed by delegate of European Union. So 5 POIs: UK, Indonesia, Canada, Nigeria, EU. Delegate of UK, go ahead.
Thank you. The delegate of International Monetary Fund, in your speech, you had mentioned about the fact that you were condemning Russia of forcefully taking over Ukraine. Is there any other reason apart from, like, has the Russian invasion of Ukraine actually caused any sort of a white cap or any issues have been caused in the work of the International Monetary Fund?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Would you mind repeating it?
Yes. So, the delegate of International Monetary Fund, I would like to ask you that, as you mentioned in your speech, that the International Monetary Fund condemns Russia of forcefully taking over Ukraine. Do you believe there is any other issues or like any problems that the Russian invasion of Ukraine has caused in the work of the IMF?
Thank you for the question. The International Monetary Fund is an organization that was set up to help developing countries, less developed countries, and to help countries that have faced conflict or have been a part of international crisis. We have been sort of set up to ensure that there is world peace and there is stability in all the nations throughout the world. And anything that endangers this peace and this stability is a matter of concern for the IMF, especially when a country of such major influence in the European in the region of Europe faces crisis and is ripped of all its sovereignty and access to all of its resources. Thank you.
I think that answers the question. Delegate of Indonesia.
Yeah. So, delegate, in your speech, you talked about the world's economy getting affected as a consequence of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. As you know, the Russian exports of raw materials dominate the world's economy, and developing countries like Indonesia heavily rely on such exports. So, do you believe the sanctions imposed on the Russian Federations continue to be an obstacle and continue to affect the world's economy? And do you think the sanctions should be revoked?
To answer your question, I believe that the Russian Federation has violated international law by declaring war on a sovereign nation. The sanctions are very truly justified. However, to help countries like Indonesia, the rest of the world, especially superpowers like United States and the European Union, need to step up and set up other trade institutions for us to relieve the world of this heavy dependence on Russia for natural gas and for other agricultural supplies as well. Thank you.
All right. Delegate of Canada.
Yes. So you talked about in your speech about engaging in diplomatic negotiations. So what has the IMF done to engage in diplomatic negotiations and support efforts for a peaceful resolution to the Ukraine conflict?
To answer your question, since the IMF does not have any military operations, it can only engage in providing resources via financial aid and possibly some aid that is not in the form of any military services. We have been constantly providing a lot of nations like Ukraine, especially Ukraine, with a lot of aid money so as to help them recover from this crisis. However, we are in no position to determine how a solution can be reached via diplomatic solutions, because that we believe is the responsibility of the larger groups such as the United States and other nations which hold key and are continuously minting money out of this conflict.
All right. Delegate of Canada, this was your second POI, right?
Yes.
Yes, this was a second. All right. Delegate of Nigeria.
Yes, as the delegate of IMF, how will you like support diplomatic resolutions to the Russia-Ukraine war?
To answer your question, we have always been a volunteer of peace, and through this community, we urge all the members to put forward their solutions, and we will definitely vote and support solutions that we deem to be peaceful and that we deem will surely end this conflict for good.
Okay.
All right. Delegate of European Union.
Oh, just sorry before that. Which delegate has asked the first POI?
Delegate of UK.
Thank you.
Delegate of European Union, are you there?
Yes, may the delegate of European Union rise to a point of information.
Go ahead, delegate.
The delegate of European Union would like to ask the delegate of international would like to ask the delegate that what financial aid has the IMF provided to in case of the Ukrainian war, and can the delegate show supporting documents for the same?
To answer your question, we have been in constant talks with the Ukrainian government to continue building up a program that helps it recover and also export whatever the industries existing after this war have been producing in Ukraine. In addition to that, we have I believe in the April month of this year itself, we had apologies. In the December month of the previous year, we had approved a $3 billion aid
I'm sorry. Point of
for the
context, sorry to
Ukraine.
interrupt, but the delegate of IMF his voice is very cracking very much and is barely audible.
Right. Delegate of IMF, are you there?
Am I audible?
Delegate of European Union, is the delegate audible?
Yes.
Am I audible?
The delegate is now audible.
I thoroughly apologize. Actually, I've been having some renovations at my house, which have I ensure this technical glitch should be avoided to the maximum extent by tomorrow. I'll sit somewhere else.
No problem, delegate.
As I we itself from the crisis. We have asked our member nations to provide donations as well as to help set up programs that reduce the dependency of Ukraine to its producers and exports via Russian soil and via Russian soil and via Russian waters, and we will continue to help Ukraine and all the other affected nations so as to ensure peace and stability. Thank you.
And the delegate of IMF state the financial aid given and provide support.
Delegate of European Union, you there in POIs there is no cross questioning. You have to ask the
Apologies, Chair.
and then right, delegate of European Union. Right. So that's it. Those were the 5 POIs. Delegate of USA. As to what point?
Point of information.
Delegate. There were only 5 POIs that we could have accommodated. So we cannot accommodate any more POI. So with that, the POIs have been completed. Now we will be heading into a short break, a 15-minute break. It's 3:42. We'll be back by 3:57, or we'll take a rough estimate of around 4. So before 4, we'll start with the committee proceedings again, and we'll be asking for motions. We expect you the delegates to have a committee consensus, and then we'll have motions. We'll ask for motion, and we expect a more topic to be passed. Right. So yes, delegate of UK, as to what point?
Point of parliamentary inquiry. So I just wanted to confirm we'll be allowed to add our names in the mod caucus list for the second time only if new speakers aren't ready to speak, right?
Pardon?
We will be allowed to, we will be getting recognized again for the mod caucus list only if for the new speakers aren't willing to add their name to the list. Am I right?
Right. So first of all, I'll recognize those speakers, particularly those speakers who haven't spoken in the GSL. They would be recognized first. And if then those delegates who have been recognized in the GSL and those who have spoken in the GSL, they would be recognized. And if still there are speakers, the space to accommodate more speakers, then and if no new speaker is willing to speak, then we'll have to give double recognition.
Okay, thank you.
And everyone, you do not get to leave the meeting just yet. Just turn off your camera and of course turn off your mic, and but you need to stay in the meeting.
Right. Turn off your cameras, mic, and can stay in the meeting. So we'll meet at 4 then. All right, Ellie.
Okay, everyone, start getting back, please. Please turn on your cameras. Start getting back. Everyone, turn on your cameras. We're about to start. Delegates, please turn on your camera. Is everyone here? Please turn on your cameras, delegates. I don't see everyone yet. As discussed prior to the break, we'll be discontinuing the GSL and we'll be taking motions, but turn on your cameras first.
Right, delegates, are we all back? Just raise your hands, those who are present on the Zoom meeting and are with us right now. Right, we have 23 hands. We'll wait a minute, post which we'll begin. And Agastya will be moderating this session. And delegates, we hope that you have a mod. You have some committee consensus on a mod, and we hope to have a good mod. Right, Agastya, begin in a minute.
You can lower your hands. Okay, just before I start taking motions, are there any points on the floor? USA, India. EU, delegate of EU. Your hand is raised. Because I don't think the delegate of USA is back yet. The delegate of USA, are you back? Okay. Are there any points on the floor? Otherwise, you can lower your hands. Yes, Nasha Hussain.
Yeah, I have a point on the floor for the Mount Caucasus.
Yeah, I'll just be taking motions in a minute. USA, are you back? Okay. Do you have a point?
No.
Mexico, EU.
Proposition.
Go ahead. EU.
The delegate of EU has a proposition. May the delegate proceed.
Yeah.
The delegate of EU proposes for a moderated caucus with a time
Okay,
of
okay, no, wait. I thought it was regarding something else. No, I'll just be taking motions. Just wait. Egypt.
I have a motion for the floor.
Okay, okay. I'll just start. Okay. Are there any motions on the floor? Lakshita, will you note them down?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Germany. EU. China. You can lower your hands as I call out your country and or entity. Canada. UK. That's it for now. You can lower down your hands. Okay, so the first one was
The first one was Germany.
Yeah, Germany, please go ahead.
The delegate of Germany would like to raise a moderated caucus on the topic, the humanitarian situation in Ukraine provoked by Russia, with 90 seconds being the speaking time and the total time being 30 minutes.
Okay. Could you type your topic in the chat as well? Yeah. Okay. Just a minute. Pranav, do we take all the motions first and then vote upon it, or we vote upon it as they say?
You have to vote upon just as they'll say. Vote
Okay.
upon the motion of Germany.
Okay, we'll be voting upon the motion raised by the delegate of Germany right now. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those in favor of the motion raised by the delegate of Germany. I'll give you some time. Okay, this motion clearly fails. We'll be moving on to the delegate of
EU.
Yeah. Delegate, you have the floor.
The delegate of EU proposes a moderated caucus with speaking time of 90 seconds per delegate and a total time of 45 minutes regarding deliberation upon conflict resolution and transportation agreements and sanctions, with special emphasis over the Black Sea initiative.
Okay. Please put your topic in the chat as well. I'll just wait for you to. Yeah, delegate of Singapore. Are there any points? Okay, we will now be voting upon the motion raised by the delegate of EU. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. The topic is deliberation upon conflict resolution and transportation agreements and sanctions with special emphasis over the Black Sea Crane Initiative. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands.
The motion passes.
Okay, we are now in a motion on the topic deliberation upon conflict resolution and transportation agreements and sanctions with special emphasis over the Black Sea Initiative, with each speaker's time being 90 seconds and the total time being 45 minutes. So I think if we won't get 45 speakers, we'll reduce the overall time. But as for now, EU, would you like to go first or
We
last?
will be having, we'll be accommodating 30 speakers, 45 minutes divided by 90, 30 speakers would be accommodated.
Yeah, okay. EU, would you like to go first?
The delegate of EU wishes that the delegate of USA leads the motion.
Leads the motion.
Delegate of European Union, if you have been asked, if you have raised a motion, you have a choice of either being the first speaker or being the last speaker.
You can't propose
The
someone.
delegate of EU wishes to be the last speaker.
Okay. We'll be recognizing speakers for the moderated caucus now. All those wishing to speak, please raise your hand. And of the total time was 30 minutes, right?
Total time was 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Yeah, I'll start recognizing now.
Lakshita, please note the names.
Yeah.
Singapore, UK, Egypt, World Bank, China, India, IMF, Canada. Please lower your hands as I say. Cambodia, Nigeria. Lower down your hand, Cambodia. Australia. EU, why are you raising your hand?
My apologies to
Yeah, no problem. USA, Turkey, France, Indonesia, Germany, UAE, Spain. I've already called out your name. And Mexico also, I think I've recognized you. Have I, Lakshita?
Has not been recognized.
Okay, Mexico.
Yeah, neither Spain nor Mexico have been recognized.
Okay, that was Spain and Mexico. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak in the moderated caucus, please raise your hand. IMF and Portugal.
Okay,
Can you take personal privilege?
Yeah.
Like, are we having POIs for this mod caucus?
No, we will not. Okay, I'll just wait for you to post the list. Okay, seeing that there are only 21 delegates wishing to speak, the total time is, of course, there'll be, of course, a total of 21 speakers only. We'll be starting now with the moderate caucus with the delegate of Singapore.
Let's start.
Just a minute. We'll just put the timer on the screen.
Lakshita, can you share the screen?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I'm sharing the speakers list on the group as well.
Okay, wait, I'll share it. Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. You may start now, delegate.
So, could you just restart?
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah. The withdrawal of Russia from the Black Sea Grain Initiative has widely caused disruption in the global food supplies. Russia broke the agreement and launched missiles and drones on 4 major Ukrainian ports in the Black Sea. The exports from these ports provided fuel and foods around 51% to developing countries and 49% to developed countries. The Azov Sea Access, which indirectly impacts the Black Sea Grain Initiative, is the treaty on cooperation in the use of the Azov Sea and the Kerch Strait, meant to regulate the shared use of these waters. However, Russia's construction of the Kerch Bridge and its control over the strait has strained this agreement. To convince Putin to agree the deal again, UN officials had also agreed to help Russia get its food and fertilizer exports to foreign markets, but the president still refused to sign the deal. This raises the question if Russia really wants to bring this war to an end or not. A solution for this can be the implication of UNSC Resolution 2199, which was implied in 2015 for the conflict between Syria and Iraq. The resolution included export controls and custom measures which helped to combat the illicit trade in cultural property. It encouraged the countries to establish export controls and custom measures. This includes the establishment of export licenses for cultural artifacts to ensure their legitimate provenance. Singapore aims to support and promote the effective implementation of sanctions measures as mandated by UNSC Resolution 2199. Singapore can cooperate with Singapore will cooperate with international organizations like the UN, Interpol, and the Financial Action Task Force (FATF)
Delegate, please conclude your speech.
to share information and intelligence related to the sanctions violations. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Lakshita, can you just share now?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Okay. The next speaker on the list is the delegate of UK, which is followed by the delegate of Egypt. So be ready. The delegate of UK.
I'm allowed to start.
I'm sorry.
Just to chair allow the delegate of UK to start.
Yeah. Okay. Chairperson.
Okay, thank you. Respected executive board and members of the group of 20. Today, I will be talking about the consequences of the Black Sea Grain Initiative and the other sanctions and trade movements that have been the agreements related to that have been imposed by various countries. Firstly, I would like to mention that Ukraine is the major exporter of grain and oilseeds, and Russia is a major exporter of oil and gas. So the war sanctions on Russia, though fundamentally right, they have disrupted global energy markets. The issue in Ukraine is that due to the war, more than $6.6 billion in agricultural infrastructure have been destroyed. Now, to help in this, the Black Sea Grain Initiative was an agreement between Russia, Ukraine, Turkey, and the UN during the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which created procedures to safely export grain from certain ports in an attempt to address a worldwide food crisis. It had been renewed till July of 2023. However, Russia felt its demands were not met. Thus, it was not renewed and it failed. However, there were drastic changes in the oil prices due to it, as they went down from $122.71 per barrel to just $89.76 per barrel. The US and the UK, we have banned, or the respective countries have banned all the Russian oil and gas imports, which doesn't allow Russia to profit off it. And the
Delegate, you have elapsed your time.
I'll just quickly conclude. The EU, US, UK, and Canada have frozen assets of Russia's central bank and other countries. So all of these sanctions imply that action must be taken.
Enough.
Thank
I'll
you.
have to stop you. Thank you. We will now be taking the speech given by the delegate of Egypt.
Yes. Can I start?
Yes.
Egypt has urged Putin to return to the Black Sea grain deal during a Russia-Africa summit marked by concerns about the global economic fallout from the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine. African countries, including Kenya, a key importer of Russian grain enduring an acute food crisis, has struck out angrily at Russia as the Kremlin seeks them as allies in a standoff with the West. We need urgent solutions to provide food and fertilizers at prices that help Africa overcome the crisis. We look forward to reaching a consensus on a grain export agreement that takes into account the demands and interests of all parties involved. We encourage a solution that is driven by the will of the affected populations. Diplomatic channels like the Normandy format and the Minsk process are crucial for resolving the Ukraine conflict. As a country with a vital interest in energy security, Egypt supports diversification of energy routes and sources. Ensuring multiple energy transit routes in the Black Sea region reduces the risk of energy supply disruptions. Sanctions should be a last resort, and a dialogue should remain a priority to engage all parties in constructive negotiations. The UN failed to do its job. Turkey was also not fair. It was not a fair deal, fulfilling the demands of both sides and opposing its foreign policy. It failed to maintain international peace and cooperation. Ukraine will have no choice but to store grain in silos, or it can donate the grain to other countries without generating revenue from the sale of exports. If the demands of Russia are fulfilled to export its supplies, then the Black Sea grain deal can be revived. The demands of both sides
Delegate,
need to be
please
fulfilled.
conclude.
Yeah. The African Union can facilitate the exchange of market information and data between African countries and Black Sea region countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Egypt. Next on the list is World Bank.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Right, I'll just start with 3, 2, 1. The Black Sea Initiative has been a success in terms of its primary goal of increasing the flow of Ukrainian grain to the global market. However, the agreement has also been fragile and has been disrupted on several occasions by Russian actions. This highlights the importance of conflict resolution and transportation agreements in supporting successful implementation of sanctions. One of the key challenges to successful implementation of sanctions is the potential for conflict between sanctioning states and sanctioned states. Despite the challenges, there are a number of things that can be done to promote conflict resolution and support the successful implementation of sanctions. One is to establish clear and achievable goals for the sanctions to reduce the risk of conflict by ensuring that all the parties understand what is accepted of them. Another important step is to build trust and confidence between the sanctioning states and the sanctioned states. This can be done through dialogue and diplomacy. Transportation agreements play an important role in conflict resolution by providing a framework for cooperation and dialogue between parties to conflict. By establishing rules and procedures for the movement of people and goods, transportation agreements help to build trust and confidence between parties. They can also help promote economic development. There are a number of challenges that need to be addressed. One challenge is to ensure that the initiative benefits all the parties involved. Ukraine needs to be able to export its grain, but Russia also needs to be able to export its own food and fertilizer products. It is important to find a balance that meets the needs of all the parties involved. Despite the challenges, the Black Sea Initiative is a positive development. It is important to learn from the Black Sea Initiative and to apply the lessons learned to other conflict affected areas around the world.
Thank you. You will lapse your time. The next speech will be given by the delegate of China.
Yeah. May I begin?
Yes, you may.
China has been the top destination for grain shipments from the war-ridden country under the Black Sea Grain Initiative, which was introduced to help alleviate a global food crisis. China supports the efforts of the United Nations to bring about the early resumption of exports of grain and fertilizer from Russia and Ukraine. China's deputy permanent representative to the UN, Geng Shuan, said, the Black Sea Grain Initiative and the Memorandum of Understanding on Russian food and fertilizers exports have important roles in stabilizing global food prices, maintaining global food security, and improving this food supply for the most vulnerable countries. Noting that the opportunity for the resumption and the package agreement still exists, China has called for the international community to enhance its sense of urgency and push the parties to intensify dialogue and consultations, address each other's concerns, and strive for the early resumption of exports of Russia and Ukraine grain and fertilizers. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Liang states that the US Department of Commerce decision on June 28 to sanction 5 Chinese companies over their support for Russia's military is another example of just how US unilateral sanctions and long-arm jurisdictions. It is important to emphasize on investing on the construction of transportation systems such as railways and railroads to improve the transportation of agricultural produce and livestock in order to improve food trade quality and affordability within countries. Thank you.
Yeah, Delegate of China, I'll have to plead for a repetition. You mentioned a name and a position, which was Russia's deputy what? Could you repeat?
It was about the sanctions.
No, you mentioned 2 names,
You
right?
talked
One
about
was
spokesperson.
China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson, but before that also you mentioned a name.
So that was China's deputy permanent representative to the UN, Geng Shuan.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker on the list is the delegate of India.
Right, just a second. May I start now?
Yes, you may.
Namaste. I am honored to stand before you today as the representative of India in the G20 committee to discuss a topic of critical global significance, the Black Sea Grain Initiative. The region plays a pivotal role in the world's grain markets, and its stability and productivity are of utmost importance. India acknowledges the significance of this initiative and is committed to engaging constructively in discussions that aim to ensure a stable, efficient, and sustainable grain market. At a time when Ukraine was unable to export grains, India's back and forth on its wheat export diplomacy had a magnified impact on global food security as well as its own international standing. The price of sunflower seed oil had been increased by 42%, of which 86% originated from Ukraine and Russia. Hence, India supports the effort of the UN Secretary General in continuing the Black Sea Grain Initiative, and India recognizes the benefits of this initiative to include enhancing global food security, reducing price volatility, sustainable agriculture, as well as economic opportunities. However, it is essential to consider some key aspects such as inclusivity, environmental sustainability, technology transfer, and especially risk mitigation. At the same time, we acknowledge the significance of transportational agreements, which serve as the bridge to promote cooperation, economic growth, and stability. However, India strongly believes that sanctions should be used judiciously and with a clear objective to encourage peaceful dialogue and resolution. India stands ready to collaborate with our fellow G20 members and Black Sea countries in realizing the goals of the initiative. As we move forward in these discussions, let us remember that a stable, sustainable, and productive grain market is not only an economic imperative, but also a moral one. Thank you.
Thank you. The delegate of India, though there was nothing wrong with your greeting, it was fine. I'm just reiterating the point that the official language of the committee is, of course, English. So just converse in English, but though I'm not pointing out anything wrong. The next delegate on the list is the delegate of IMF.
Point of personal privilege.
Yes, this is the delegate.
This is the delegate of IMF. May I speak with my camera turned on because my network is constantly glitching? I've been like out, in and out of the meeting. I didn't hear India's speech.
Sure, we'll allow it.
Thank you. May I begin?
Yeah.
The Black Sea Grain Initiative was a lifeline for the global economy. It allowed for the safe passage of Ukrainian grain and other agricultural products to the global market, which helped to ease food price pressures and avoid global food crisis. However, Russia's termination of the deal is a major setback. It threatens to further disrupt global food supplies and push food prices up again, especially in developing countries. The IMF is deeply concerned about the impact of the Russian decision. We estimate that the deal suspension could raise global grain prices by 10 to 15%. This would have a devastating impact on poor and vulnerable households around the world. We urge Russia to reconsider its decision to and uphold its commitments under the Black Sea Grain Initiative. The deal is essential for global food security and for the well-being of millions of people. In the meantime, IMF is working with its partners to mitigate the impact of Russia's decision. We are providing financial assistance to all the developing countries who have been affected by this termination to purchase food and other essential goods. We are also working to promote alternative supply routes for Ukrainian grain and other agricultural products. We are all in this together, and we must work together to ensure that everyone has access to the food they need. And this war has also caused major disruption to the global supply chain, particularly on the low-income countries. And IMF is deeply concerned with helping them out to ensure that the people that have no involvement in the war don't suffer its consequences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next on the list is the delegate of Canada.
Yes. I stand before you today as the delegate of Canada, a nation committed to principles of diplomacy, cooperation, and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. I would like to address the issue of conflict resolution and transportational agreements in the context of the Black Sea Initiative. Canada believes in fostering an environment of peace, stability, and cooperation in the Black Sea. Canada emphasizes the importance of peaceful conflict resolution. It is evident that there have been concerns about Russia's actions in the Black Sea, including its annexation of Crimea and its military presence in the region. Such actions have raised tensions and have led to challenges in the Black Sea region. We believe that diplomatic dialogue rather than confrontation should be the way forward. Canada encourages Russia to foster an environment of trust and cooperation. Sanctions and punitive measures should not be our primary focus, but rather than option to be considered if diplomatic avenues fail. We urge all parties involved to take step forward, building mutual trust and working towards a peaceful resolution of conflicts. It is essential that we avoid a confrontational approach and work together to ensure the free passage of goods and services through the Black Sea. Any disputes or disagreements should be resolved through peaceful negotiations in line with the international law and with the aim of benefiting the entire region. Regarding transportational agreements, Canada acknowledges the significance of safe and secure transport routes in the Black Sea. The freedom of navigation and
conclude your speech.
Canada calls for a diplomacy and dialogue as the primary means of addressing concerns in the Black Sea region, including those of
Okay, delegate,
Russia's
I'll have to
actions.
stop you. Your time has
Thank you.
elapsed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ranuf, could you take over for a minute? I'll just be back.
Right. Just a second, I'll open the list. Right, so Canada was the last speaker. The next speaker on the list is Cambodia. Delegate of Cambodia, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Delegate of Cambodia, you may begin.
Thanks you for the recognition. The Black Sea, historically and geographically, have been a crossroads of civilizations and a region of strategic importance. Today, it means at heart of complex challenges and opportunities. Cambodia, despite its geographical distance, understands the profound implications of decisions made in the committee. A more stable and secure Black Sea region directly contributes towards global peace, economic prosperity, and international cooperation. Moreover, as a nation that has undergone its own state of conflict and recovery, Cambodia understands the importance of peaceful resolution in conflicts. We express our support for the Black Sea Initiative and emphasize the need for dialogue cooperation to resolve conflicts. The Black Sea region has seen its share and tensions, and we can call upon all the parties involved to engage in diplomatic negotiations. Cambodia stands firm in its belief that peaceful dialogue is the most effective means to address the disputes in this region. Sanctions and hostilities only worsen the situation and harm the people living in these areas. We should always seek a path to dialogue and cooperation, as these are the cornerstones of sustainable peace. Transport. Furthermore, we must remember the importance of involving all relevant stakeholders, including non-government organizations and the private sector, in development of transportation and trade agreements. Their input can contribute to a more exclusive and successful approach. In conclusion, Cambodia, despite its geographical distance, remains committed to the principles of international cooperation and collective security. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate, for that speech. The next speaker on the list is Delegate of Nigeria.
Can I start now?
Yes, Delegate, you may begin.
Yes. As the delegate of Nigeria, I would like to inform you about I would like to deliberate upon a matter of paramount importance, which is the conflict resolution, transformational agreements, and sanctions, with a special emphasis on the Black Sea Initiative. Our nation believes in the power of diplomacy, collaboration, and multilateral efforts to resolve conflicts and promote sustainable peace. The Black Sea Initiative represents a pivotal opportunity for international cooperation and the establishment of a peaceful and stable environment in the Black Sea region. Nigeria firmly believes in the principles established in the United Nations Charter, which emphasize the peaceful settlement of disputes and the maintenance of the international peace and security. In this context, we emphasize the necessity of dialogue and negotiation to resolve conflicts and disputes. Sanctions, when applied judiciously and in accordance with the international law, can be an effective tool to encourage compliance with agreements and deter aggression. However, they should always be designed with well-being of civilian populations in mind, and effort should be made to minimize their adverse humanitarian impacts. In conclusion, Nigeria calls upon all nations to actively engage in the diplomatic dialogue and cooperate in transformational agreements, use sanctions judiciously, and always with a view of resolving conflicts and ensuring peace and stability in the Black Sea region and beyond. Thank you.
Right, delegate. Augusta, you take over.
Yeah. The last speech was by
Nigeria.
Yeah. Thank you. The delegate of Australia,
Yes, Chair.
you may start.
Food supply chains began to collapse with the escalation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict in early 2022. It has affected countries at a global level, leading to economic instability. The Black Sea Grain Initiative allowed for exports from Ukraine to regions all over the globe to increase. But recently in July, Russia backed out of the same. After Russia backing out, Russia has further weakened the Ukraine's export infrastructure. Rosemary DiCarlo, Undersecretary for the Political and Peacebuilding Affairs, stated, "We have now witnessed a further blow to global food security, as Russia for the fourth consecutive day struck Ukraine's Black Sea ports in Odessa, Kronosomo, Mykolaiv, and with missiles and drones, destroying critical port infrastructure, facilities, and grain supplies. The Black Sea Initiative allowed for easy and safe transport of exported materials from Ukraine, reducing global impact. The initiative was shut down, but building it again would be tough due to the port infrastructure in Ukraine being weakened, as mentioned earlier. Australia is willing to contribute to and increase exports again this year and would request all global producers to follow a similar pattern. Australia also urges fellow allies to work on understanding how sanctions can be managed and ensure uniform and targeted application of sanctions. A graded system of these sanctions is crucial to maintaining global security and making sure global recessions do not occur in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Now we taking the speech of the delegate of USA. You have the floor.
The delegate of USA was facing some technical issues, so they got disconnected. So we can move on to the next speaker.
Okay, delegate of Turkey.
Should I start?
Yes, you may.
With the prior permission of Executive Board, the delegate of Turkey would like to clarify its stance on the topic. Deliberation upon the conflict resolution and transformational agreements and sanctions with special emphasis over the Black Sea Initiative. The resumption of Ukrainian grain ports via the Black Sea amid the ongoing war is a lifeline for global food security and a beacon of hope in a troubled war at a time when up to 783 million people face world hunger worldwide. The UN plan, which is linked to efforts to ensure Russian food and fertilizer reach global markets, support the stabilization of spiraling food prices worldwide, and stave off famine affecting millions. The Black Sea Grain Initiative was negotiated in July 2022 between Turkey, the UN, and Russia as a way of ensuring that Ukraine, one of the breadbaskets of the world, could ensure that its grains could leave the southern ports. The initiative, one of the few diplomatic achievements since the war started, allows for a commercial food and fertilizer exports from three key Ukrainian ports in the Black Sea. However, Russia quit the deal in July, a year after it was brokered by the United Nations and Turkey, complaining that its own food and fertilizer exports faced serious obstacles. Erdogan, Turkey's president, said that Russia's expectations were well known to all the nations and the shortcomings should be eliminated, adding that Turkey and United Nations had worked on a new package of suggestions to ease Russian concerns. Turkey is expecting to reach on a solution that will meet the expectation in a short time. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Next on the list is the first of all, delegate of USA. Are you back?
I think they're not in the meeting.
Okay, thank you, delegate of Singapore. Just raise your hand next time. The delegate of France. Delegate of France, are you there? Okay, we'll move on to the next then. The delegate of Indonesia.
Yeah. Can I start?
Yes, you may start with your speech.
The Black Sea Grain Initiative was passed as a way of ensuring that Ukraine, one of the biggest bread baskets of the world, could ensure that its grain could leave its southern ports. However, there was a 29% decrease in food exports by tonnage through the initiative in April and a 66% decrease in May. Furthermore, the second part of the deal, allowing for greater Russian agricultural exports, was not being honored by the West. Sanctions on Russian goods and exports had not been lifted. Indonesia believes in the facilitation of both Russian as well as Ukrainian trade for the world's economy to become stable. We also believe that further funding Indonesian exports can significantly reduce the dependency of developing countries on Ukraine and Russia. In conclusion, we believe in the re-establishment of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, while also keeping in mind the needs of the Russian Federation. Indonesian exports could rise further to top $300 billion by 2024, as per predictions made by the Coordinating Minister of Maritime and Investment Affairs, Luhut Panjaitan. Indonesia can thus prove to be a significant asset in these problematic times, as far as the dependency on raw materials is considered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Delegate. So I'll just have to ask for repetition. I just want to confirm, you said you believe in the re-establishment of the Black Sea Grain Initiative.
Yeah.
That was the exact line, right? Okay. Next on the list is the delegate of, okay, first of all, delegate of USA and the delegate of France. Are either of you back? Yeah, delegate of France. Will you be able to give your speech right now? Or you're muted. Delegate of France, I can see you've raised your hand.
Yeah, EB, I'm sorry. My audio disconnected. I couldn't hear you.
No problem. Are you able to give the speech right now?
Yes.
Okay, then you may start.
As we gather here today to deliberate upon conflicts, resolutions, and transportational agreements and sanctions with a special emphasis on the Black Sea Initiative, allow me to extend a warm greeting on behalf of the French delegation. France, a nation known for its commitment to diplomacy and recognizes the vital importance of fostering peaceful resolutions to conflicts and promoting cooperation in the realm of transportation. The Black Sea region holds great significance in terms of its geopolitical, economics, and cultural contributions. Therefore, it is imperative that we address the challenges forced in the region and seek collaborative solutions that ensure stability, security, and prosperity for all. Conflict resolution demands open and inclusive dialogue. It necessitates a sincere effort to understand the root cause of the conflict, the grievance of all parties involved, and the aspiration of the affected population. France firmly believes that conflicts can only be resolved through peaceful means, emphasizing the principles of diplomacy, negotiating, and mediating. We encourage all nations to engage in comprehensive dialogue, demonstrating a willingness to find common ground, build trust, and promote recollection. Transportation plays a vital role in connecting nations, fostering economic growth, and enhancing cultural exchange. The Black Sea Initiative, with its potential to facilitate regional connectivity, holds significant promise. France acknowledges the importance of transportation agreements that promote cooperation.
Time has elapsed. Just wrap up your statement and then we can move on.
Yeah, and France acknowledges the importance of transportational agreements and that promote cooperation, facilitate trade, and ensure the efficient movement of goods.
Thank you for your speech, Delegate. Just a minute before we move on to the next speaker. Okay, we'll move on to the next speaker for now. Yeah, the delegate of USA, are you back?
Yeah, I'm able to join now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Will
Okay.
you be able to give your speech?
Yes.
Okay. Just a minute before you give. Please recognize the presence of the Director General, Samarth. And I think it's time for a short review session from the Secretariat. Yeah, you can take over. Samarth.
Right. So, Samarth, should we leave then for the feedback?
Yes, yes, you may leave. All the chairpersons to leave. All the chairperson, rapporteurs, and vice chairs to leave, please.
All right. Just text us once you are done with it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Samarth Bhargav, and I'm serving as the Director General in e-AIM in 2023. I'm here for a short feedback session from all of you. So I encourage most of you to participate and give positive or negative feedback. Firstly, I would like to start with negative feedback regarding the EB, regarding the proceedings of the committee, or any sort of a negative feedback that is hindering your maybe experience in e-AIM or any of that sort. So any negative feedbacks? Everything is going perfect, like EBs are good, they're helping you out, everyone is having equal recognitions. Is that all going well? Perfect. Any positive feedbacks regarding the committee proceedings or the EB, that they are helpful, they are kind, or any of that sort? Any one of you? Right, delegate of UK.
Right. So I believe the proceedings are going well right now, and the EV is constantly helping out, not like even the people who are new to the committee. So it's, in my opinion, a great committee.
Thank you, United Kingdom. Followed by delegate of Nigeria, followed by delegate of Indonesia.
Yes, the right now the session is going quite well, and I've noticed the EB is encouraging other people to participate a lot, which I personally think is really good. That would be my positive feedback.
Thanks a lot, delegate of Nigeria. Followed by delegate of Indonesia.
Yes, I believe that everything's going very swiftly as of now. But I also believe that in the moderated caucus and all the in basically apart all the in the moderated caucuses, basically, I don't think enough point of informations are being entertained, and because we don't have the option to use chits in general, I think the committee is a relatively dull committee when you compare them to yeah, I just feel that I don't think there's enough participation.
Right. Thanks for the feedback, delegate. Also, just like to clarify that moderated caucus is an informal type of debate. So you don't have POIs compulsorily in that, but if by the discretion of executive board they introduce, or maybe if you as a committee could request the EB members to have an informal vote in the moderated caucus and have a POI, that would be a viable option. If you think the committee is going vague or maybe you're not able to participate as much, so that is one of the options you can opt for. Breast, any other doubts, anyone? If you're facing any technical issues on the Zoom platform, maybe you're not able to raise your hand, you're not able to access the chat, any of that sort. Everything was going fine by everyone, right? Perfect. So I'll just call your EBs back in the committee so that you can proceed further.
Yes, you can. You have your hand raised.
Apology. Sunshine,
Laksha, are you there? We'll just wait for the director to join, and then we'll continue with the delegate of USA. Delegate of USA, you will be able to give your speech, right?
Yeah, also, could I get a loud tap because the timer, like, it wasn't visible to me.
I'm sorry, could you get a?
Could you like give me a louder tap because the timer wasn't visible to me on the screen?
You didn't give your speech. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
know.
not shared right now, but it will be shared the timer. If you want, I can still give you a tap
Yeah, that'd be convenient. Thank you.
just to check, is this audible?
Just make
Let
sure.
the audio as well so that the timer, when it rings out, it's audible.
Yeah, okay. Laksha, are you there? Okay, never mind. We will continue.
Just a second, just a second. Can you call him? It's
Uh,
possible.
sure, if you want me to, I'll note the verbatim for this speech.
Right, because he needs to write the verbatim. That's why.
No, I'll take that. for this speech.
So I'll moderate.
Yeah.
All right. So delegate of USA, I'll give you a tap at 45 and a double tap at 90. You have the flow for the next 90 seconds. You may begin now.
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody present here. I would not be getting into the topic of Black Sea Grain Initiative in the sense of explaining it because I believe everybody is quite aware with that. So my speech would be in the system of problem analysis and solution format. First, coming to the problem. The Black Sea region is facing complex challenges in its oil and petroleum exports, particularly concerning Russian and Kazakh oil, sanctions, and international trade dynamics. The analysis for this would be that there are two basic aspects that we need to see. The first is sanction compliance. A crucial aspect of the issue is ensuring that the sanctions imposed on Russian oil are not circumvented. This requires vigilant monitoring and enforcement mechanisms with amendments in the oversight of the SSMOSCE, like expanding its mandate along with the inclusion of the chairmanship country, which is North Macedonia as of now, for the better mediation of functioning of such bodies. And the second aspect is the oil blending concerns. The mixing of the Russian and Kazakh oil by the Caspian Pipeline Consortium, or the CPC, creates potential problems, giving it differing sanction status of the two countries. Now we come to the solutions. The first is enhanced sanction monitoring. The United States and the European partners can intensify efforts to monitor and ensure compliance with sanctions related to Russian oil. This could include stricter scrutiny of shipping records and companies involving the oil trade. Next is transparent labeling. Implementing a transparent system for labeling in the origin of the oil exports clearly distinguish between Russia and Kazakh oil at the stages of the production and the transportation. This label could be internationally standardized and regulated. By implementing these solutions, Black Sea region can be better addressed by challenges relating to its oil and petroleum exports.
Thank you very much, delegate, for that speech. The next speaker is the delegate of Turkey. Delegate of Turkey, are you there?
I have already given my speech.
Yeah, so the delegate of Turkey has already given it.
So
We
delegate
moved
of
on.
France has also given their speech.
Germany. It's of Germany. Delegate of Germany has to give.
Right. Indonesia has also given their speech, right?
Yeah.
Right. So delegate of Germany. Laksha, you back then?
Yeah, I'm back.
Right, Agastya, you can moderate.
Yeah.
Okay, just to confirm, was the timer audible this time?
It was audible.
Great.
May I start?
Yes.
The delegate of Germany would like to speak on the motion, deliberation on conflict resolution and transportation agreements and sanctions with special emphasis over the Black Sea Initiative. The Black Sea Grain Initiative, BSGI, reactivated traditional grain export routes and became a lifeline for millions of people across the globe. The BSGI helped push prices back down and ensure greater availability of grain. Germany's foreign minister criticized Russian President Vladimir Putin for suspending the Black Sea Grain Agreement. Germany called on Russia to reconsider its decision to suspend the agreement. The BSGI raised fears of additional pressure on the solidarity lanes. The solidarity lanes are alternative routes established to facilitate transit of Ukrainian grain through the EU. The suspension of the BSGI also raised concerns about the impact on member states' agricultural markets. The BSGI was monitored by the Joint Coordination Center, GCC. The GCC was hosted in Istanbul and included representatives from Russia, Turkey, Ukraine, and the United Nations.
Yeah. Thank you, delegate. Lakshita, have you posted the list on the chat? Because I'm not able to see it now. Arnav, are you?
I'll post it again on the chat. It's also there on the group, so you can see.
That's because you left the meeting, so the chat.
Just post it again.
Right. I'll dictate. Germany was the last speaker, right?
Yeah.
UAE is the next speaker.
Yes, sir. So just a minute, Yeah, I'll just
Sure.
start. The Black Sea Initiative was signed by Russia, Turkey, and Ukraine and UN to allow the safe export of grain and other foodstuff. But the suspension of the initiative caused a disruption in the global food supply chain and a surge in food prices, putting many countries at risk of hunger. Due to the collapsing deals, there is an inflationary pressure on grain prices, especially in countries which are heavily reliant on imports. This crisis is a global phenomenon, but affects low-income countries, LICs, the most. They are facing significant balance of payment pressures due to higher food and fertilizer prices. Thus, UAE recommends that a joint group which will function based on the agreement should be formed. It shall supervise and monitor the application and implementation of the agreement and periodically review the functioning of this agreement in the light of its objectives. The agreement will function as A. It shall be composed of representatives of all the parties. The representatives of the member states of the European Union and the WTO may attend the meetings as observers. B. It shall be chaired by a representative of European Union and a representative of Ukraine. C. It shall adopt its decisions by consensus between the parties. The decisions shall be binding on both the parties, which shall take necessary measures to implement them. D. The parties shall cooperate in order to prevent and combat fraud and forgery of driver documents. E. To that end, the authorities of Ukraine shall provide the relevant information to authorities of EU and of its member states by means of web portal managed by the authorities of Ukraine or by the retrieval of data from electronic driving licenses issued by Ukraine in accordance with its legislation.
Thank you, delegate. So just a small repetition.
Yes, sir.
You said that you propose a joint group should be formed in the G20.
Yeah, a joint group should be
while in the, okay. Thank you. The next speaker on the list is the delegate of Spain.
Do I have the permission to begin?
Yes, you do.
War is expensive. Peace is free. Greetings, respected EB and fellow delegates. The Black Sea Grain Initiative was an endeavor to tackle the rapid escalation of food prices emanating from the disruption of supply chain because of the Russia-Ukraine war. The deal was brokered by the United Nations in July 2022. The initiative was required because the war had led to a complete halt of maritime shipments from Ukraine, previously a major exporter via the Black Sea. Russia had withdrawn from the deal in July 2023, claiming that the promises made to it under the deal were not met, and they were still facing trouble exporting its own agricultural products and fertilizers because of the sanctions the West had slapped on it. There are attempts being made to revive the deal, as the deal has been credited for having made a huge difference to the global cost of living crisis. Hence, it is imperative that the Black Sea Grain Initiative should get back on track. The way forward being the West will also have to step down from their stand, and Russia will need to cooperate, as at the end of the day, any food crisis in the world is bound to impact one and all. Even the countries who may not have felt the pinch just yet need to step in and help negotiate the deal so that the crisis does not come knocking down on their doors as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Spain. We can move on to the next speaker.
Privilege.
I'm sorry?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes, Delegate of Austria.
Has the delegate of Austria been added to the speakers list yet?
No, you have not. Do you wish to speak in the moderate caucus?
Yes, please.
Okay, we will add your name. You'll speak before the European Union, after Portugal.
Thank you.
The next on the list is the delegate of Spain.
I just spoke.
I'm sorry, Mexico. Delegate of Mexico, are you present? Is the delegate of Mexico here? Okay, we can move forward with the delegate of Portugal. Yes, Portugal, are you ready?
Yeah.
You may start.
The Black Sea Grain Initiative was successful in stabilizing global food prices, but it ended because Russia felt that the West was not honoring its end of the deal. While it is true that over 60% of the grain was sent to vulnerable low and middle income countries, almost 40% of it was sent to what Russia calls high income countries. Ukrainian grain also supplied 50% of the UN's World Food Programs, which helped the most vulnerable countries. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that Russia would return to the deal immediately if its demands on exports were met. However, many heads of state have ignored Russia's statement and condemned Russia's decision to end the deal while calling for Russia to rejoin the deal. Russia's also complained about false promises to reduce the pressures on Russian food and fertilizer exports. Russia says that while there are no sanctions on the exports of its food and fertilizer, restrictions on payments, logistics, and insurance have become a barrier to their shipments. Portugal, as a member of the UN and G20 through the EU, urges fellow members of these organizations to ease the pressures on Russian agriculture exports as the deal originally stated, so that the deal may be resumed.
Okay, thank you, Delegate of Portugal. Delegate of Austria, you're next. And Delegate, please ensure that you might
Delegate of EU is also there, right?
Yeah, but okay, we'll take a speak at the end, right?
The delegate of EU because they were recognized before, and after that we'll take more speakers for this new speakers.
Okay. So the motion was raised by the delegate of EU and he chose to speak at last. So that is why I put Austria before.
Right.
So what do you propose? Austria, right?
We'll still have I think okay, first of all, Mexico hands down. Delegates, those who haven't spoken in this moderated caucus yet and want their names to be added, kindly raise their hands. Who haven't spoken in this moderated caucus yet?
Excuse me, Chair. My name was added to the list, but I still didn't get a chance to speak in the mock.
That is because you were disconnected.
Right, Mexico was disconnected. Right, we'll take Mexico. Austria's name has been added, and then EU. Any other delegate who wishes to speak in this moderated caucus and who hasn't spoken yet, apart from Austria. All right. So only Austria. Do you want to give then double recognition, Agastya?
Sure. after the EU will allow it.
Right, we'll look into it. First of all, let's have the speeches from Mexico, followed by EU and then Austria.
Also, the delegate of Austria, your mic was unmute during Portugal's speech, so please make sure you're aware next time. Yeah, delegate of Mexico, you may start with your speech now.
I am here today to speak on the behalf of the delegation of Mexico about the importance of conflict resolution, transportational agreements and sanctions in preventing and addressing global food insecurity, with special emphasis on the Black Sea Initiative. The war in Ukraine has had a devastating impact on global food security. The Black Sea Initiative is a vital lifeline for global food security. It is a multilateral agreement that has allowed for the safe passage of grain and other food commodities from Ukrainian ports. The initiative has played a key role in reducing global food prices and preventing a humanitarian catastrophe. However, it is fragile. It is important that we work together to ensure its continuation and to expand its scope by making sure every nation is involved in the initiative. This can only be done by resolving the Ukraine conflict. Conflict resolution is essential for preventing and addressing global food insecurity. We must support all efforts to resolve conflicts peacefully and to build a more peaceful world. Transportational agreements are also essential for ensuring global food security. These agreements allow for the safe and efficient movement of food commodities around the world. Sanctions can also have a negative impact on global food security. When sanctions are imposed on food producing countries, it can disrupt agricultural production and transportation, and this can lead to higher prices and shortages of food commodities. So we must use sanctions carefully. The delegation of Mexico is committed to working with all nations to prevent and address global food insecurity, and we urge all countries to support the Black Sea Initiative and to work to resolve conflicts peacefully.
Thank you, delegate of Mexico. The delegate of Austria is next.
May the delegate begin?
You can begin.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates. Firstly, Austria firmly agrees with the goals of Black Sea Initiative as it recognizes the pressing needs to facilitate the export of grain, food, commodities, and fertilizers from Ukraine to global markets. The conflict in Ukraine has led to disruptions in food and fertilizer exports, resulting in soaring global food prices and food insecurity. By resuming these vital supplies, the initiative contributes to lower food prices and stabilized markets, ultimately mitigating food price inflation. Regarding conflict resolution, Austria acknowledges the negative impacts of the Russia-Ukraine war on the Black Sea region. The increased attacks on merchant ships and threats to shipping and commercial activities have created heightened tension and economic hardships for both countries. Austria firmly supports finding a peaceful solution to this conflict and calls for all parties involved to engage in constructive dialogue to resolve their differences and restore stability to the region. In terms of transport agreements and sanctions, Austria recognizes the importance of safe and secure maritime routes in the Black Sea for trade and the overall economic stability of the region. Austria believes that transport agreements and the lifting of sanctions can play a significant role in facilitating the movement of goods and enhancing economic cooperation. In conclusion, Austria aligns itself with the Black Sea Initiative as it acknowledges the urgent need to address the challenges caused by the Russia-Ukraine war. Austria firmly believes that peace and stability in the Black Sea region can only be achieved through constructive dialogue, diplomatic efforts, and international cooperation. Austria reiterates its commitment to supporting initiatives that motivate peace and security, and it stands ready to engage actively in finding lasting solutions for the benefit of all countries involved.
Augusta, are you there?
Sorry, I didn't realize my mic was unmuted. Thank you for your speech, delegate of Austria. We will now move on to delegate of EU. Delegate of EU, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. May I begin?
You may.
The delegate of EU feels that this topic is of high importance and thus states the conference with the ending speech. The delegate of EU feels that we should work towards a more united world where every nation is equal. None nation should be backward and feel that they're not included in this world. The delegate of EU also states that the Black Sea Initiative was a great way to establish the global food market and its security. But due to Russia, the initiative failed, and we wish that if Russia steps forward again, we could revive this initiative and also have other nations included in it. The Black Sea Initiative could be a great way for the world to stand strong as one. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Delegate of EU. Seeing that this committee session was till 5:15 and we have 5 minutes left on the clock, so we will not be allowing double recognition right now. So that is the end of this moderated caucus for now. Enough.
Right. So, delegates, we won't be having any double recognitions, most probably in this committee, for the reason that this committee is of a moderate committee. It's around 30 delegates. So I believe that everyone would get equal chances to speak. So I don't think so there has to be any point of double recognition. And even if you have double recognition, the marking for that would be averaged out. So it would mean that if you gave within a mod, if within a particular mod, if you gave two speeches, those two speeches would be averaged out. So if by chance your first speech was it was very good, but your second speech was not so very good, so ultimately your average score will bring your collective score down. So it wouldn't be feasible for you guys as well to give two speeches. It will not be in your favor. So I would refrain, the executive board would refrain from giving double recognition. Apart from that, any new speaker who wants to speak in this moderated caucus and hasn't spoken yet, Austria has spoken, anyone else, or else we can close this mod then.
Also, I know just ask for the delegates who haven't spoken the whole day.
Yes, exactly. That's also one thing. I'll just check. Right. Lakshita, do you have the list of the those who had spoken in the mod as well as in the GSL?
I have the list for the mod and the GSL, but I'm not sure till what point did we reach for the GSL.
Right. I remember, I think for GSL, the last speaker was IMF.
Okay, yes, then I do have the list. I'll just share it on the WhatsApp group.
I'm sure delegate of Italy has not spoken the whole day.
Right, delegate of Italy hasn't spoken.
Yeah, did you raise your hand and we didn't recognize you? Delegate of Italy. Okay, that's no problem. Just raise your hands who all have not.
I think delegate of Republic of Korea also hasn't spoken.
Yeah, just raise your hands. We'll make sure to give you a chance tomorrow. All those who have not spoken today. All the delegates who didn't get a chance to speak today. Just raise your hands. Okay, Netherlands and Italy, it seems, and Republic of Korea. Okay, you can lower down your hand, Netherlands.
Right. So who all haven't spoken not once today, apart from Republic of Korea and Italy?
Only Netherlands.
Only Netherlands. Do the delegates of Italy, Republic of Korea, and Netherlands wish to speak in this moderated caucus?
No, Italy, yes. Italy, do you wish to speak?
No, sorry, I did a mistake, sorry.
Okay.
All right. If that's the issue, then we'll wrap up for today. Just
Point of inquiry.
As to what point, delegate?
Parliamentary inquiry. It's regarding whether you'd be recognizing more names for GSL or not.
GSL. Yes, before we begin with the leftover GSL tomorrow, we'll recognize some new speakers for the GSL. We'll do that. Any other points, delegates?
Point of inquiry.
Yes, delegate.
Is the committee open to the creation of subcommittees?
Do you mean breakout rooms?
Yes.
Breakout rooms that would take place during your lobbying when you guys are in an unmod. Then we'll have breakout rooms. That will most probably take place, I think, on the tomorrow or maybe day after tomorrow, when you all have to engage in the documentation. Then we can allow for breakout rooms, but there is the provision for breakout rooms.
Okay.
Delegate of Singapore.
Was it only for the Modcock or for the GSL also there is no double recognition?
Double recognition, we wouldn't be having any double recognition as such delegate. Right. Any other points?
Austria has raised the hand.
Right. Austria.
So are we going to start the same time tomorrow, or is it a different time?
Tomorrow, I think the committee timings, Augusta, I think they're from 12, right?
Yeah, the first session is from 12 to 2:30, though there is a speaker session from 11:30 to 12 in the committee.
Right. So you will have to join, all the delegates have to join by 11:30 for the speaker session, and the formal committee proceedings, they will begin by 12 then.
12, yeah.
Can delegates leave the meeting now?
We'll give general feedback after that. I think if you have Augusta, are they having any keynote address?
Yes,
have at
you need to
5:30.
join at 5:30.
Right, they need to join at 5:30. I think the link, will the same link be provided, or there is a different link for that?
Okay, I'll just see, and if there's a new link, I'll
Right.
just put it in the chat.
Right, just check. In the meantime, I'll give all the delegates some general feedback. So I'll say it was a good debate, a good start to the debate. I think the debate is going in the right direction. So regarding that, I think all the delegates have done well. If I have to talk about how you can improve tomorrow and what all can the committee collectively do, I think while giving solutions in this mod, what I felt was that some or the other points were getting repeated again and again with regards to dialogue and diplomacy being established. So I felt that if that point was being repeated a lot of times, just to make sure that we get that the delegates want to they are in favor, or they are promoting dialogue and diplomacy, but do make sure that you also have a framework. You provide with a consolidated framework as to how you will ensure dialogue has been established, because the Black Sea Grain Initiative in itself has reached to a deadlock. So obviously there have to be certain wings from both the sides, from the side of Russia as well as from the side of Ukraine, and concessions have to be made from for both the sides. So keep that one thing in mind. Whatever you are proposing, keep in mind the best interests of all the stakeholders, and this is one thing that provide a framework to your solutions. Secondly, just give more analysis. I would say, while you are giving statistics, while you are giving certain survey reports, if you're citing something, it's good that you are citing something. The executive board would appreciate it that the delegate themselves add that they add their own analysis to it with respect to their foreign policy, obviously, that so that we get to know that if you are citing a report, of if you are citing any statistics, we know that you understand that report really very well. That is why you are adding your own insights into it. That is with regards to analysis. And just on a general note, while structuring your speeches, I would say that follow follow the pattern of problem analysis and solution. First of all, talk a bit about the problem of what the agenda is dealing with. Then give analysis. Analysis should be the major chunk of your speech. Give a lot of analysis, and then provide with at least two good solutions to it that back your analysis. So this is ideally the format and the structure of speech that that the executive would expect the delegates to follow. Apart from that, I would say the committee engagement was good. We'll expect more POIs tomorrow. What happens is that if you utilize your entire time in GSL, you wouldn't be marked anything for your POIs. But if you at least leave certain time for POIs and you actually take POIs, then you will be marked further upon that, because we get to know that you are capable of answering questions and you are capable of taking questions as well. So that is one thing that the delegates can look upon. That's it from my side. Agastya, Lakshita, and
Arnav, could you also confirm on the POIs for the mod if we will allow them
right.
to vote on them?
Right. I mean, that's just suggestive from our side, but we'll also be incorporating POIs tomorrow in the moderated caucus. We'll have one POI per, we can have one POI per speaker, regardless of the time. Even if the time lapses, we can still have one POI per mod. The purpose for that would be if you have one POI after every speech, it will lead to even more committee interaction and more committee discussion. So it would be ultimately fruitful for the debate. And I think we can do that. We can add more POIs to moderated caucuses as well for tomorrow. Right, Lakshay and Lakshita, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, just one small thing that I would request all the delegates to kindly utilize this time for lobbying and get like concrete, these mod caucus topics for tomorrow, because today we used up some crucial committee time in those agendas, like raising up motions. Like there were quite a few motions that were getting failed in the committee, and that simply like used up some time of the committee. So I really urge all the delegates to lobby and get a consensus on the topics that you would want to pick up on day 2.
Right. Lakshita, anything from your side?
Yeah, just a few small things. So as Lakshay mentioned, the lobbying, we felt it was a bit lacking today. And as he mentioned, we wasted quite a bit of time deciding the ModCock topics. So just ensure that does not happen for tomorrow. And also the committee interaction today was not as impressive as it could have been. So just try to use your breaks for more interaction with each other so that even we can note down whose committee presence is more. Secondly, just another feedback, when you are giving speeches, whether it be in the GSL or in the moderated caucuses, just try to refer to the other delegates' speeches, because that shows us that you have actually been listening to what other delegates have said, and then you would be able to add some analysis as well. So even if you have some solutions which are similar to those of other delegates, you can mention that, as this delegate said, this is a good solution, or if you want to suggest some kind of an improvement to someone else's solution, you can do that as well. And one more small thing, I noticed that many of you during your speeches greeted the entire committee, and that's really nice, but you end up losing precious seconds in that. So you can cut down on the greeting and try to fit in more content in the time that you would otherwise have used for the greeting. Otherwise, everything else has been covered, and the participation today was very nice.
Delegates, I put the link for the meeting at 5:30, which you are all requested to join in the chat. You're all requested to join the meeting.
Just a reminder, do send your position papers on the official mail ID that has been shared in the group. Kindly send your position papers on that. Even if you have sent your position papers on any other mail ID, resend it on the official one. And the deadline for that is 11:59 today. Right, delegate of UAE followed by Nigeria.
Yes, sir. So I had this doubt that, for example, you said that tomorrow we'll be having a compulsory POI on mods, right? So what if, firstly, I have two doubts. Firstly, if the mod is, let's say, 90 seconds, if you allow that, then also will we have a compulsory POI or not?
90 seconds mod. See, if we are going to incorporate POIs into mod, that can either be based on the time left with the speaker, or we can also have a compulsory POI for every speaker. But for
we can vote on that. Do you think tomorrow?
We can also allow by discretion if we want to incorporate POIs, for it's only for the benefit of the committee, that if you have POIs in mods as well, because as we mentioned at the start of the committee, we are flexible as executive board members, so we can twist ROPs a bit. We can allow that.
Okay, sir. And secondly, I want to ask that, let's say if the moderated topics tomorrow will be voted for 60 seconds, right? And let's say if a delegate speaks for 55 seconds, so will he be allowed to use that 5 seconds for POIs, or only the mandatory?
Yeah, again, it's upon the discretion of the EB, but we can vote on that. Of course, one compulsory POI plus if time left, we can also allow one more, right, Arnav?
Tomorrow at the start of the committee, we'll tell you guys what are we going to go
Yeah.
ahead with. We'll tell you tomorrow, but most probably we might have something related to PYs.
So EB, the compulsory POI will be separate from the speech time, right?
We'll tell you that if it's a compulsory POI, then obviously it would be separate. But how we are going to go about by it, we'll tell you tomorrow.
Yeah, but just be ready for POIs. That's all for tomorrow.
Nigeria. Oh, delegate of Nigeria, you aren't audible.
Am I audible now?
Right.
Yeah, so I was saying that my doubt was cleared.
Perfect. Any other doubt, delegates, or we'll wrap up with today's session? You have to join the keynote address as well at 5:30. I
Thank
think.
you so much, delegates.
Thank you, delegates, and do research, lobby well, discuss with amongst each other, and all the best for tomorrow.
Arna, good evening. This is
Good
Nimit.
evening, ma'am.
I'm the teacher in charge of the committee as well. Just a small reminder, delegates. I think the EV has already told you that tomorrow we are starting the main session at 12 o'clock, but you have to join in earlier at 11:30 for the speaker session. So kindly ensure that you're all there at 11:30 tomorrow morning, right? Thank you so much. And as they all said, research well, lobby well. You've all had a fruitful session today. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So as ma'am also reiterated, kindly join at 11:30 tomorrow, and then we'll begin with the formal committee proceedings by 12. So that is it, delegates. We'll wrap up for today.
Thank you, delegates.
Can I close?